sometimes up at the front, near the trees. And you sit there and wait for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, yawning and doing nothing, until the guard at the door, the fellow with the turban, mumbles into a microphone saying, "Driver so-and-so, you may come to the glass door with the car. Your master is waiting for you." The drivers were waiting near the parking lot of the hotel, in their usual keychain-swirling, pan-chewing, gossip-mongering, ammonia-releasing circle, crouching and jabbering like monkeys. The driver with the diseased lips was sitting apart from them, engrossed in his magazine. On this week's cover, there was a photo of a woman lying on a bed, her clothes undone. Her lover stood next to her, raising a knife over her head. Murder Weekly. Rupees 450. Exclusive true story. He wanted his master's wife. Love, rape, revenge. "Been thinking about what I said, country mouse?" he asked me, as he flipped through a story. "About getting your master something he'd like. Hashish, or girls, or golf balls. Genuine golf balls from the U.S. consulate." "He's not that kind." The pink lips twisted into a smile. "Want to know a secret? My master likes film actresses. He takes them to a hotel in Jangpura with a big glowing T sign on it and hammers them there." He named 3 famous Mumbai actresses his master had hammered. "And yet he looks like a goody-goody. Only I know, and I tell you, all the masters are the same. One day you'll believe me. Now come read a story with me." We read like that, in total silence. After the 3rd murder story, I went to the side, to a clump of trees, to take an ammonia break. He walked along with me. Our piss hit the bark of the tree just inches apart. "I've got a question for you." "About city girls again?" "No, about what happens to old drivers." "Huh?" "I mean, what will happen to me a few years from now? Do I make enough money to buy a house and then set up a business of my own?" "Well," he said, "a driver is good till he's 50 or 55. Then the eyes go bad and they kick you out, right? That's 30 years from now, country mouse. If you save from today, you'll make enough to buy a small home in some slum. If you've been a bit smarter and made a little extra on the side, then you will have enough to put your son in a good school. He can learn English. He can go to university. That's the best-case scenario. A house in a slum, a kid in college. Best case. Well, on the other hand, you can get typhoid from bad water. Boss sacks you for no reason. You get into an accident. Plenty of worst-case scenarios." I was still pissing, but he put a hand on me. "There's something I've got to ask you, country mouse. Are you all right?" I looked at him sideways. "I'm fine. Why do you ask?" "I'm sorry to tell you this, but some of the drivers are talking about it openly. You sit by yourself in your master's car the whole time. You talk to yourself. You know what you need? A woman. Have you seen the slum behind the malls? They're not bad-looking, nice and plump. Some of us go there once a week. You can come too." "Driver Balram, where are you?" It was the call from the microphone at the gate of the hotel. Mr. Turban was at the microphone, speaking in the most pompous, stern voice possible. "Driver Balram, report at once to the door. No delay, your master wants you." I zipped up and ran, wiping my wet fingers on the back of my pants. Mr. Ashok was walking out of the hotel with his hands around a girl when I brought the car up to the gate. She was a slant-eyed one with yellow skin, a foreigner, a Nepali, not even of his caste or background. She sniffed about the seats that I had polished, and jumped on them. Mr. Ashok put his hands on the girl's bare shoulders. I took my eyes away from the mirror. "I have never approved of debauchery inside cars, Mr. Jabal. But I could smell the mingling of their perfumes. I knew exactly what was going on behind me. I thought he would ask me to drive him home now, but no. The carnival of fun just went on and on. He wanted to go to PVR Saket. Now, PVR Saket is the scene of a big cinema, which shows 10 or 12 cinemas at the same time, and charges over 150 rupees per cinema. Yes, that's right, 150 rupees. That's not all. You've also got plenty of places to drink beer, dance, pick up girls, that sort of thing. A small bit of America in India. Beyond the last shining shop begins the second PVR. Every big market in Delhi is two markets in one. There is always a smaller, grimier mirror image of the real market, tucked somewhere into a bylane. This is the market for the servants. I crossed over to the second PVR, a line of stinking restaurants, tea stalls, and giant frying pans where bread was toasted in oil. The men who work in the cinemas and who sweep them clean come here to eat. The beggars have their homes here. I bought a tea and a potato vada, and sat under a banyan tree to eat. "Brother, give me 3 rupees. An old woman, looking lean and miserable, with her hands stretched out. "I'm not one of the rich, mother. Go to that side and ask them." "Brother." "Let me eat, all right. Just leave me alone." She went. A knife grinder came and set up his stall right next to my tree. Holding 2 knives in his hand, he sat on his machine. It was one of the foot-pedalled whetstones, and began peddling. Sparks began buzzing a couple of inches away from me. "Brother, do you have to do your work here? Don't you see a human being is trying to eat?" He stopped pedaling, blinked, then put the blades to the whizzing whetstone again, as if he hadn't heard a word I'd said. I threw the potato vada at his feet. "How stupid can you people get?" The old beggar woman made the crossing with me, into the other PVR. She hitched up her sari, took a breath, and then began her routine. "Sister, just give me 3 rupees. I haven't eaten since morning." A giant pile of old books lay in the center of the market, arranged in a large hollow square, like the mandala made at weddings to hold the sacred fire. A small man sat cross-legged on a stack of magazines in the center of the square of books, like the priest in charge of this mandala of print. The books drew me toward them like a big magnet, but as soon as he saw me, the man sitting on the magazine snapped, "All the books are in English." "So? Do you read English?" he barked. "Do you read English?" I retorted. There, that did it. Until then his tone of talking to me had been servant to servant. Now it became man to man. He stopped and looked me over from top to bottom. "No," he said, breaking into a smile, as if he appreciated my balls. "So how do you sell the books without knowing English?" "I know which book is what from the cover," he said. "I know this one is Harry Potter." He showed it to me. "I know this one is James Hadley Chase." He picked it up. "This is Khalil Gibran. This is Adolf Hitler, Desmond Bagley, The Joy of Sex. One time the publisher changed the Hitler cover so it looked like Harry Potter, and life was hell for a week after that. I just want to stand around the books. I had a book once, when I was a boy." "Suit yourself." So I stood around that big square of books. Standing around books, even books in a foreign language, you feel a kind of electricity buzzing up toward you, Your Excellency. It just happens, the way you get erect around girls wearing tight jeans. Except here what happens is that your brain starts to hum. 4,700 rupees, in that brown envelope, under my bed. Odd sum of money, wasn't it? There was a mystery to be solved here. Let's see. Maybe she started off giving me 5,000, and then being cheap, like all rich people are. Remember how the mongoose made me get down on my knees for that 1 rupee coin? Deducted 300. That's not how the rich think, you moron. Haven't you learned yet? She must have taken out 10,000 at first, then cut it in half, and kept half for herself, then taken out another 100 rupees, another 100, and another 100. That's how cheap they are. So that means they really owe you 10,000. But if she thought she owed you 10,000, then what she truly owed you was what? 10 times more? No, 100 times more. The small man, putting down the newspaper he was reading, turned to me from inside his mandala of books. "What did you say?" he shouted. "Nothing." He shouted again. "Hey, what do you do?" I grabbed an imaginary wheel and turned it 180 degrees. "Ah, I should have known. Drivers are smart men. They hear a lot of interesting things, right?" "Other drivers might. I go deaf inside the car." Sure. Tell me, you must know English. Some of what they talk must stick to you." "I told you. I don't listen. How can it stick?" "What does this word in the newspaper mean? Privacy." I told him, and he smiled gratefully. We had just started the English alphabet when I got taken out of school by my family. So he was another of the half-baked, my caste. "Hey!" he shouted again. "Want to read some of this?" He held up a magazine with an American woman on the cover, the kind that rich boys like to buy. "It's good stuff." I flicked through the magazine. He was right. It was good stuff. "How much does this magazine sell for?" 60 rupees. Would you believe that? 60 rupees for a used magazine. And there's a fellow in Khan Market who sells magazines from England that cost 508 rupees each. Would you believe that? I raised my head to the sky and whistled. "Amazing how much money they have," I said aloud, yet as if talking to myself, "and yet they treat us like animals." It was as if I had said something to disturb him, because he lowered and raised his paper a couple of times. Then he came to the very edge of the mandala, and partially hiding his face with the paper, whispered something. I cupped a hand around my ear. "Say that again?" He looked around and said, a bit louder this time, "It won't last forever, though, the current situation." "Why not?" I moved toward the mandala. "Have you heard about the Naxals?" He whispered over the books. "They've got guns. They've got a whole army. They're getting stronger by the day." "Really?" "Just read the papers. The Chinese want a civil war in India, see? Chinese bombs are coming to Burma and into Bangladesh and then into Calcutta. They go down south into Andhra Pradesh and up into the darkness. When the time is right, all of India will—" He opened his palms. We talked like this for a while, but then our friendship ended as all servant-servant friendships must, with our masters bellowing for us. A gang of rich kids wanted to be shown a smutty American magazine, and Mr. Ashok came walking out of a bar, staggering, stinking of liquor. The Nepali girl was with him. On the way back, the two of them were talking at the top of their voices, and then the petting and kissing began. My God, and he a man who was still lawfully married to another woman. I was so furious that I drove right through 4 red lights and almost smashed into an ox cart that was going down the road with a load of kerosene cans, but they never noticed. "Good night, Balram," Mr. Ashok shouted as he got out, hand in hand with her. "Good night, Balram," she shouted. They ran into the apartment and took turns jabbing the call button for the elevator. When I got to my room, I searched under the bed. It was still there, the Maharaja tunic that he had given me, the turban and dark glasses, too. I drove the car out of the apartment block, dressed like a Maharaja, with the dark glasses on. No idea where I was going. I just drove around the malls. Each time I saw a pretty girl, I hooted the horn at her and her friends. I played his music. I ran his AC at full blast. I drove back to the building, took the car down into the garage, folded the dark glasses into my pocket, and took off the tunic. I spat over the seats of the Honda City and wiped them clean. The next morning he didn't come down or call me up to his room. I took the elevator and stood near the door. I was feeling guilty about what I'd done the previous night. I wondered if I should make a full confession. I reached for the bell a few times and then sighed and gave up. After a while there were soft noises from inside. I put my ear to the wood and listened. But I have changed. Don't keep apologizing. I had more fun last evening than in 4 years of marriage. When you left for New York, I thought I'd never see you again. And now I have. That's the main thing for me." I turned away from the door and slapped my fist into my forehead. My guilt was growing by the minute. She was his old lover, you fool, not some pickup. Of course, he would never go for a slut. I had always known that he was a good man, a cut above me. I pinched my left palm as punishment, and put my ear to the door again. The phone began to ring from inside. Silence for a while, and then he said, "That's Puddles, and that's Cuddles. You remember them, don't you? They always bark for me. Here, take the phone. Listen." "Bad news?" Her voice, after a few minutes. "You look upset." "I have to go see a cabinet minister. I hate doing that. They're all so slimy. The business I'm in, it's a bad one. I wish I were doing something else, something clean, like outsourcing. Every day I wish it." "Why don't you do something else, then? It was the same when they told you not to marry me. You couldn't say no then, either." "It's not that simple, Uma. They're my father and brother." "I wonder if you have changed, Ashok. The first call from Dunbad and you're back to your old self." "Look, let's not fight again. I'll send you back in the car now." "Oh, no, I'm not going back with your driver. I know his kind, the village kind. They think that any unmarried woman they see is a whore, and he probably thinks I'm a Napoli because of my eyes. You know what that means for him. I'll go back on my own. This fellow is all right. He's part of the family." "You shouldn't be so trusting, Ashok. Delhi drivers are all rotten. They sell drugs and prostitutes, and God knows what else." "Not this one. He's stupid as hell, but he is honest. He'll drive you back." "No, Ashok. I'll get a taxi. I'll call you in the evening." I realized that she was edging toward the door, and I turned and tiptoed away. There was no word from him until evening, and then he came down for the car. He made me go from one bank to another bank. Sitting in the driver's seat, I watched through the corner of my eye. He was collecting money from the automatic cash machines, 4 different ones. Then he said, "Balram, go to the city. You know the big house that's on the Ashoka Road, where we went with Mukesh Sir once?" "Yes, sir, I remember. They've got 2 big Alsatian guard dogs, sir." "Exactly. Your memory's good, Balram." I saw in the spy mirror that Mr. Ashok was pressing the buttons of his cell phone as I drove, probably telling the minister's servant that he was coming with the cash. So now I understood at last what work my master was doing as I drove him through Delhi. "I'll be back in 20 minutes, Balram," Mr. Ashok said when we got to the minister's bungalow. He stepped out with the red bag and slammed the door. A security guard with a rifle sat in a metal booth over the red wall of the minister's house, watching me carefully. The 2 Alsatian dogs roaming the compound barked now and then. It was the hour of sunset. The birds of the city began to make a ruckus as they flew home. Now Delhi, Mr. Premier, is a big city, but there are wild places in it, big parks, protected forests, stretches of wasteland, and things can suddenly come out of these wild places. As I was watching the red wall of the minister's house, a peacock flew up over the guard's booth and perched there. For an instant its deep blue neck and its long tail turned golden in the setting sunlight. Then it vanished. In a little while it was night. The dogs began barking. The gate opened. Mr. Ashok came out of the minister's house with a fat man, the same man who had come out that day from the president's house. I guessed that he was the minister's assistant. They stopped in front of the car and talked. The fat man shook hands with Mr. Ashok, who was clearly eager to leave him. But it isn't so easy to let go of a politician, or even a politician's sidekick. I got out of the car, pretending to check the tires, and moved into eavesdropping distance. "Don't worry, Ashok. I'll make sure the minister gives your father a call tomorrow." "Thank you. My family appreciates your help. What are you doing after this?" "Nothing. Just going home to Gurgaon." "A young man like you going home this early? Let's have some fun." Don't you have to work on the elections? The elections? All wrapped up. It's a landslide. The minister said so this morning. Elections, my friend, can be managed in India. It's not like in America. Brushing aside Mr. Ashok's protests, the fat man forced his way into the car. We had just started down the road when he said, "Ashok, let me have a whiskey." "Here, in the car? I don't have any." The fat man seemed astonished. "Everyone has whiskey in their car in Delhi, Ashok. Didn't you know this?" He told me to go back to the minister's bungalow. He went inside and came back with a pair of glasses and a bottle. He slammed the door, breathed out, and said, "Now this car is fully equipped." Mr. Ashok took the bottle and got ready to pour the fat man a glass, when he smacked his lips in annoyance. "Not you, you fool. The driver. He is the one who pours the drinks." I turned around at once and turned myself into a barman. "This driver is very talented," the fat man said. "Sometimes they make a mess of pouring a drink." You'd never guess that his caste was a teetotaling one, would you? I tightened the cap on the bottle and left it next to the gearbox. I heard the clinking of glasses behind me and two voices saying, "Cheers." "Let's go," the minister's sidekick said. "Let's go to the Sheraton, driver. There's a good restaurant down in the basement there, Ashok. Quiet place. We'll have some fun there." I turned the ignition key and took the dark egg of the Honda City down the streets of New Delhi. A man's car is a man's palace. I can't believe you've never done this. Well, you'd never try it in America, would you? That's the whole advantage of being in Delhi, dear boy. The fat man slapped Mr. Ashok's thigh. He sipped and said, "What's your situation, Ashok?" "Coal trading these days. People think it's only technology that's booming, but coal. The media pays no attention to coal, does it? The Chinese are consuming coal like crazy, and the price is going up everywhere. Millionaires are being made left, right, and center." Sure, the fat man said. "The China effect." He sniffed his glass. "But that's not what we in Delhi mean when we say situation, dear boy." The minister's sidekick smiled. "Basically what I'm asking is, who services you? Down there." He pointed at a part of Mr. Ashok's body that he had no business pointing at. "I am separated, going through a divorce." "I'm sorry to hear that," the fat man said. "Marriage is a good institution. Everything's coming apart in this country. Families, marriages, everything." He sipped some more whiskey and said, "Tell me, Ashok, do you think there will be a civil war in this country?" "Why do you say that?" 4 days ago, I was in a court in Ghaziabad. The judge gave an order that the lawyers didn't like, and they simply refused to accept his order. They went mad. They dragged the judge down and beat him in his own court. The matter was not reported in the press, but I saw it with my own eyes. If people start beating the judges in their own courtrooms, then what is the future for our country? Something icy cold touched my neck. The fat man was rubbing me with his glass. "Another drink, driver." "Yes, sir." "Have you ever seen this trick, Your Excellency?" A man steering the car with one hand and picking up a whiskey bottle with the other hand, hauling it over his shoulder, then pouring it into a glass, even as the car is moving without spilling a drop. The skills required of an Indian driver. Not only does he have to have perfect reflexes, night vision, and infinite patience, he also has to be the consummate barman. "Would you like some more, sir?" I glanced at the minister's sidekick, at the fat corrupt folds of flesh under his chin, then glanced at the road to make sure I wasn't driving into anything. "Pour one for your master now." "No, I don't drink much. Really, I'm fine." "Don't be silly, Ashok. I insist. Fellow, pour one for your master." So I had to turn and do the amazing one hand on the wheel, one hand with the whiskey bottle trick all over again. The fat man went quiet after the second drink. He wiped his lips. "When you were in America, you must have had a lot of women. I mean, the local women." "No." "No? What does that mean?" "I was faithful to Pinky, my wife, the whole time." My, you were faithful. What an idea. Faithfully married. No wonder it ended in divorce. Have you never had a white woman? I told you. God, why is it always the wrong kind of Indian who goes abroad? Listen, do you want one now? A European girl? Now? Now, he said. A female from Russia. She looks just like that American actress. He mentioned the name. Want to do it? A whore. The fat man smiled. A friend. A magical friend. Want to do it? No, thanks. I'm seeing someone. I just met someone I knew along... The fat man took out his cell phone and punched some numbers. The light of the phone made a blue halo on his face. She's there right now. Let's go see her. She's a stunner, I tell you, just like that American actress. Do you have 30,000 on you? No, listen, I'm seeing someone. I'm not... No problem. I'll pay now. You can pay later. Just put it into the next envelope you give the minister. He put his hand on Mr. Ashok's hand and winked, then leaned over and gave instructions to me. I looked at Mr. Ashok in the rear-view mirror as hard as I could. A whore? That's for people like me, sir. Are you sure you want this? I wish I could have told him this openly. But who was I? Just the driver. I took orders from the fat man. Mr. Ashok said nothing, just sat there sucking his whiskey like a boy with a soda. Maybe he thought it was a joke, or maybe he was too frightened of the fat man to say no. But I will defend his honor to my deathbed. They corrupted him. The fat man made me drive to a place in Greater Kailash, another housing colony where people of quality live in Delhi. Touching my neck with his icy glass when I had to make a turn, he guided me to the place. It was as large as a small palace, with big white columns of marble up the front. From the amount of garbage thrown outside the walls of the house, you knew that rich people lived here. The fat man held open the car door as he spoke into a phone. 5 minutes later he slammed the door shut. I began sneezing. A weird perfume had filled the back of the car. Stop that sneezing and drive us toward Jangpura, son. Sorry, sir. The fat man smiled. He turned to the girl who had got into the car and said, Speak to my friend Ashok in Hindi, please. I looked into the rear-view mirror and caught my first glimpse of this girl. It's true. She did look like an actress I had seen somewhere or other. The name of the actress, though, I don't know. It's only when I came to Bangalore and mastered the use of the Internet, in just 2 quick sessions, mind you, that I found her photo and name on Google. Kim Basinger. That was the name the fat man had mentioned, and it was true. The girl who got in with the fat man did look exactly like Kim Basinger. She was tall and beautiful, but the most remarkable thing about her was her hair, golden and glossy, just like in the shampoo advertisements. How are you, Ashok? She said it in perfect Hindi. She put her hand out and took Mr. Ashok's hand. The minister's assistant chuckled. There, India has progressed, hasn't it? She's speaking in Hindi. He slapped her on the thigh. Your Hindi has improved, dear. Mr. Ashok leaned back to speak to the fat man over her shoulder. Is she Russian? Ask her. Don't ask me, Ashok. Don't be shy. She's a friend. Ukrainian, she said in her accented Hindi. I am a Ukrainian student in India. I thought I would have to remember this place, Ukraine, and one day I would have to go there. Ashok, the fat man said, go on, touch her hair. It's real. Don't be scared. She's a friend. He chuckled. See, didn't hurt, did it, Ashok? Say something in Hindi to Mr. Ashok, dear. He's still frightened of you. You're a handsome man, she said. Don't be frightened of me. Driver. The fat man leaned forward and touched me with his cold glass again. Are we near Jangpura? Yes, sir. When you go down the Masjid Road, you'll see a hotel with a big neon T sign on it. Take us there. I got them there in 10 minutes. You couldn't miss the hotel. The big T sign on it glowed like a lantern in the dark. Taking the golden-haired woman with him, the fat man went up to the hotel reception, where the manager greeted him warmly. Mr. Ashok walked behind them and kept looking from side to side, like a guilty little boy about to do something very bad. Half an hour passed. I was outside, my hands on the wheels the whole time. I punched the little ogre. I began to gnaw at the wheel. I kept hoping he'd come running out, arms flailing and screaming, "Balram, I was on the verge of making a mistake. Save me, let's drive away at once." An hour later, Mr. Ashok came out of the hotel, alone and looking ill. "The meeting's over, Balram," he said, letting his head fall back on the seat. "Let's go home." I didn't start the car for a second. I kept my finger on the ignition key. "Balram, let's go home," I said. "Yes, sir." When we got back to Gurgaon, he staggered out toward the elevator. I did not leave the car. I let 5 minutes pass and then drove back to Jangpura, straight to the hotel with the tea on it. I parked in a corner and watched the door of the hotel. I wanted her to come out. A rickshaw puller drove up next to me, a small, unshaven, stick-thin man who looked dead tired as he wiped his face and legs clean with a rag, and went to sleep on the ground. On the seat of his rickshaw was a white advertising sticker. "Is excess weight a problem for you? Call Jimmy Singh at Metro Gym, 9811-799-289. The mascot of the gym, an American with enormous white muscles, smiled at me from above the slogan. The rickshaw puller's snoring filled the air. Someone in the hotel must have seen me. After a while, the door opened. A policeman came out, peered at me, and then began walking down the steps. I turned the key. I took the car back to Gurgaon. Now, I've driven around Bangalore at night, too, but I never get that feeling here that I did in Delhi. The feeling that if something is burning inside me as I drive, the city will know about it. She will burn with the same thing. My heart was bitter that night. The city knew this, and under the dim orange glow cast everywhere by the weak street lamps, she was bitter. "Speak to me of civil war," I told Delhi. "I will," she said. An overturned flower urn on a traffic island in the middle of a road. Next to it, 3 men sit with open mouths. An older man with a beard and white turban is talking to them with a finger upraised. Cars drive by him with their dazzling headlights, and the noise drowns out his words. He looks like a prophet in the middle of the city, unnoticed except by his 3 apostles. They will become his 3 generals. That overturned flower urn is a symbol of some kind. "Speak to me of blood on the streets," I told Delhi. "I will," she said. I saw other men discussing and talking and reading in the night, alone or in clusters around the street lamps. By the dim lights of Delhi, I saw hundreds that night, under trees, shrines, intersections, on benches, squinting at newspapers, holy books, journals, Communist Party pamphlets. What were they reading about? What were they talking about? But what else? Of the end of the world. "And if there is blood on these streets," I asked the city, "do you promise that he'll be the first to go, that man with the fat folds under his neck?" A beggar, sitting by the side of the road, a nearly naked man coated with grime, and with wild unkempt hair in long coils like snakes, looked into my eyes. "Promise." Colored pieces of glass have been embedded into the boundary wall of Buckingham Tower's B block to keep robbers out. When the headlights hit them, the shards glow, and the wall turns into a technicolored glass-spined monster. The gatekeeper stared at me as I drove in. I saw rupee notes shining in his eyes. This was the second time he had seen me going out and returning on my own. In the parking lot, I got out of the driver's seat and carefully closed the door. I opened the passenger's door and went inside, and passed my hand along the leather. I passed my hands from one side of the leather seats to the other 3 times, and then I found what I was looking for. I held it up to the light. A strand of golden hair. I've got it in my desk to this day. The sixth night. The dreams of the rich and the dreams of the poor, they never overlap, do they? See, the poor dream all their lives of getting enough to eat and looking like the rich. And what do the rich dream of? Losing weight and looking like the poor. Every evening the compound around Buckingham Tower's B block becomes an exercise ground. Plump, paunchy men and even plumper, paunchier women with big circles of sweat below their arms are doing their evening walking. See, with all these late-night parties, all that drinking and munching, the rich tend to get fat in Delhi, so they walk to lose weight. Now, where should a human being walk? In the outdoors, by a river, inside a park, around a forest. However, displaying their usual genius for town planning, the rich of Delhi had built this part of Gurgaon with no parks, lawns or playgrounds. It was just buildings, shopping malls, hotels, and more buildings. There was a pavement outside, but that was for the poor to live on. So if you wanted to do some walking, it had to be done around the concrete compound of your own building. Now, while they walked around the apartment block, the fatzos made their thin servants, most of them drivers, stand at various spots on that circle with bottles of mineral water and fresh towels in their hands. Each time they completed a circuit around the building, they stopped next to their man, grabbed the bottle, gulp, grabbed the towel, wipe. Then it was off on round 2. Vitiligo Lips was standing in one corner of the compound, with his bottle and his master's sweaty towel. Every few minutes, he turned to me with a twinkle in his eyes. His boss, the steel man, who was bald until 2 weeks ago, now sported a head of thick black hair, an expensive toupee job he had gone all the way to England for. This toupee was the main subject of discussion in the monkey circle these days. The other drivers had offered Vitiligo Lips 10 rupees to resort to the old tricks of braking unexpectedly or taking the car full speed over a pothole to knock over his master's toupee at least once. The secrets of their masters were spilled and dissected every evening by the monkey circle, though if any of them made the divorce a topic of discussion, he knew he would have to deal with me. On Mr. Ashok's privacy, I allowed no one to infringe. I was standing just a few feet from Vitiligo Lips, with my master's bottle of mineral water in my hand and his sweat-stained towel on my shoulder. Mr. Ashok was about to complete his circle. I could smell his sweat coming toward me. This was round number 3 for him. He took the bottle, drained it, wiped his face with his towel, and draped it back on my shoulder. "I'm done. Balram, bring the towel and bottle up, okay?" "Yes, sir," I said, and watched him go into the apartment block. He took a walk once or twice a week, but it clearly wasn't enough to counter his nights of debauchery. I saw a big wet paunch pressing against his white T-shirt. How repulsive he was these days. I signaled to Vitiligo Lips before going down to the parking lot. 10 minutes later, I smelled the steel man's sweat and heard footsteps. Vitiligo Lips had come down. I called him over to the Honda City. It was the only place in the world I felt fully safe anymore. "What is it, Country Mouse? Want another magazine?" "Not that. Something else." I got down on my haunches. I squatted by one of the tires of the city. I scraped the grooves of the tire with a fingernail. He squatted too. I showed him the strand of golden hair. I kept it tied around my wrist like a locket. He brought my wrist to his nose. He rubbed the strand between his fingers, sniffed it, and let my wrist down. "No problem." He winked. "I told you your master would get lonely." "Don't talk about him." I seized his neck. He shook me off. "Are you crazy? You tried to choke me." I scraped the grooves of the tire again. "How much will it cost?" "High class or low class? Virgin or non-virgin? All depends." "I don't care. She just has to have golden hair, like in the shampoo advertisements." "Cheapest is 10,000–12,000. "That's too much. He won't pay more than 4,700. 6,500, Country Mouse. That's the minimum. White skin has to be respected. All right. When does he want it, Country Mouse? I'll tell you. It'll be soon. And another thing. I want to know another thing. I put my face on the tire and breathed in the smell of the leather. For strength. How many ways are there for a driver to cheat his master? Mr. Jabao, I am aware that it is a common feature of those cellophane-wrapped business books to feature small sidebars. At this stage of the story, to relieve you of tedium, I would like to insert my own sidebar into the narrative of the modern entrepreneur's growth and development. How does the enterprising driver earn a little extra cash? 1. When his master is not around, he can siphon petrol from the car with a funnel, then sell the petrol. When his master orders him to make a repair to the car, he can go to a corrupt mechanic. The mechanic will inflate the price of the repair, and the driver will receive a cut. This is a list of a few entrepreneurial mechanics who help entrepreneurial drivers. Lucky Mechanics in Lado Serai, near the Kutub. RV Repairs in Greater Kailash Part 2. Nilofa Mechanics in DLF Phase 1 in Gurgaon. 3. He should study his master's habits and then ask himself, is my master careless? If so, what are the ways in which I can benefit from his carelessness? For instance, if his master leaves empty English liquor bottles lying around in the car, he can sell the whiskey bottles to the bootleggers. Johnny Walker Black brings the best resale value. 4. As he gains in experience and confidence, and is ready to try something riskier, he can turn his master's car into a freelance taxi. The stretch of the road from Gurgaon to Delhi is excellent for this. Lots of Romeos come to see their girlfriends who work in the call centers. Once the entrepreneurial driver is sure that his master is not going to notice the absence of the car, and that none of his master's friends are likely to be on the road at this time, he can spend his free time cruising around, picking up and dropping off paying customers. At night, I lay in my mosquito net, the light bulb on in my room, and watched the dark roaches crawling on top of the net, their antennae quivering and trembling, like bits of my own nerves. And I lay in bed, too agitated even to reach out and crush them. A cockroach flew down and landed right above my head. You should have asked them for money when they made you sign that thing. Enough money to sleep with 20 white-skinned girls. It flew away. Another landed on the same spot. 20? 100, 200, 300, 1,000, 10,000 golden-haired whores, and even that would still not have been enough. That would not start to be enough. Over the next 2 weeks, I did things I am still ashamed to admit. I cheated my employer. I siphoned his petrol. I took his car to a corrupt mechanic who billed him for work that was not necessary. And 3 times, while driving back to Buckingham B, I picked up a paying customer. The strangest thing was that each time I looked at the cash I had made by cheating him, instead of guilt, what did I feel? Rage. The more I stole from him, the more I realized how much he had stolen from me. To go back to the analogy I used when describing Indian politics to you earlier, I was growing a belly at last. Then one Sunday afternoon, when Mr. Ashok had said he wouldn't need me again that day, I gulped 2 big glasses of whiskey for courage, then went to the servants' dormitory. Vitiligo lips were sitting beneath the poster of a film actress. Each time his master hammered an actress, he put her poster up on the wall, playing cards with the other drivers. Well, you can say what you want, but I know that these jokers aren't going to win re-election. He looked up and saw me. Well, look who's here. It's the yoga guru, paying us a rare visit. Welcome, honored sir. They showed me their teeth. I showed them my teeth. We were discussing the elections, Country Mouse. You know, it's not like the darkness here. The elections aren't rigged. Are you going to vote this time? I summoned him with a finger. He shook his head. Later, Country Mouse. I'm having too much fun discussing the elections." I waved the brown envelope in the air. He put his cards down at once. I insisted that we walk down to the parking lot. He counted the money there, in the shadow of the Honda City. "Good, Country Mouse. It's all here. And where is your master? Will you drive him there?" "I am my own master." He didn't get it for a minute. Then his jaw dropped. He rushed forward. He hugged me. "Country Mouse!" He hugged me again. "My man!" He was from the darkness too, and you feel proud when you see one of your own kind showing some ambition in life. He drove me in the Qualis, his master's Qualis, to the hotel, explaining on the way that he ran an informal taxi service when the boss wasn't around. The hotel was in South Extension Part 2, one of the best shopping areas in Delhi. Vitiligo Lips locked his Qualis, smiled reassuringly, and walked with me up to the reception desk. A man in a white shirt and black bow tie was running his finger down the entries in a long ledger, leaving his finger on the book. He looked at me as Vitiligo Lips explained things into his ear. The manager shook his head. A golden-haired woman? For him? He put his hands on the counter and leaned over so he could see me from the toes up. For him. Vitiligo Lips smiled. Look here, the rich of Delhi have had all the golden-haired women they want. Who knows what they'll want next? Green-haired women from the moon? Now it's going to be the working class that lines up for the white women. This fellow is the future of your business, I tell you. Treat him well. The manager seemed uncertain for a moment. Then he slammed the ledger shut and showed me an open palm. Give me 500 rupees extra, he grinned. Working class surcharge. I don't have it. Give me 500 or forget it. I took out the last 300 rupees I had. He took the cash, straightened his tie, and then went up the stairs. Vitiligo Lips patted me on the shoulder and said, Good luck, Country Mouse. Do it for all of us. I ran up the stairs. Room 114A. The manager was standing at the door, with his ear to it. He whispered, Anastasia? He knocked, then put his ear to the door again and said, Anastasia, are you in? He pushed the door open. A chandelier, a window, a green bed, and a girl with golden hair sitting on the bed. I sighed because this one looked nothing like Kim Basinger, not half as pretty. That was when it hit me, in a way it never had before, how the rich always get the best things in life, and all that we get is the leftovers. The manager brought both his palms up to my face. He opened and closed them, and then did it again. 20 minutes. Then he made a knocking motion with his fist, followed by a kicking motion with his shiny black boot. Get it? That's what would happen to me after 20 minutes. Yes. He slammed the door. The woman with the golden hair still wasn't looking at me. I had only summoned up the courage to sit down by her side when there was banging on the door outside. When you hear that, it's over. Get it? The manager's voice. All right. I moved closer to the woman on the bed. She neither resisted nor encouraged. I touched a curl of her hair and pulled it gently to get her to turn her face toward me. She looked tired and worn out, and there were bruises around her eyes, as if someone had scratched her. She gave me a big smile. I knew it well. It was the smile a servant gives a master. What's your name? She asked in Hindi. This one, too. They must have a Hindi language school for girls in this country, Ukraine, I swear. Munna. She smiled. That's not a real name. It just means boy. That's right. But it's my name, I said. My family gave me no other name. She began laughing, a high-pitched, silvery laugh that made her whole golden head of hair bob up and down. My heart beat like a horse's. Her perfume went straight to my brain. You know, when I was young, I was given a name in my language that just meant girl, My family did the same thing to me." "Wow," I said, curling my legs up on the bed. We talked. She told me she hated the mosquitoes in this hotel, and the manager, and I nodded. We talked for a while like this, and then she said, "You're not a bad-looking fellow, and you're quite sweet," and then ran her finger through my hair. At this point, I jumped out of the bed. I said, "Why are you here, sister? If you want to leave this hotel, why don't you? Don't worry about the manager. I'm here to protect you. I am your own brother, Balram Halwai." "Sure," I said that. "In the Hindi film they'll make of my life. 7,000 sweet rupees for 20 minutes. Time to get started." That was what I actually said. I climbed on top of her and held her arms behind her head with one hand. Time to dip my beak in her. I let the other hand run through the golden curls. And then I shrieked. I could not have shrieked louder if you had shown me a lizard. "What happened, Mona?" she asked. I jumped off the bed and slapped her. My, these foreigners can yell when they want to. Immediately, as if the manager had been there all the time, his ear to the door, grinning, the door burst open and he came in. "This," I shouted at him, pulling the girl by her hair, "is not real gold." The roots were black. It was all a dye job. He shrugged. "What do you expect for 7,000? The real thing costs 40, 50. I leapt at him, caught his chin in my hand, and rammed it against the door. "I want my money back." The woman let out a scream from behind me. I turned around. That was the mistake I made. I should have finished off that manager right there and then. 10 minutes later, with a scratched and bruised face, I came tumbling out the front door. It slammed behind me. Vitiligo lips hadn't waited. I had to take a bus back home. I was rubbing my head the whole time. 7,000 rupees. I wanted to cry. Do you know how many water buffaloes you could have bought for that much money? I could feel Granny's fingers wringing my ears. Back to Buckingham Towers at last. After a 1-hour traffic jam on the road, I washed the wound on my head in the common sink and then spat a dozen times. To hell with everything. I scratched my groin. I needed that. I slouched toward my room, kicked open the door, and froze. Someone was inside the mosquito net. I saw a silhouette in the lotus position. "Don't worry, Balram. I know what you were doing." A man's voice. Well, at least it wasn't Granny. That was my first thought. Mr. Ashok lifted up a corner of the net and looked at me, a sly grin on his face. "I know exactly what you were doing." "Sir?" "I was calling your name and you weren't responding, so I came down to see. But I know exactly what you were doing. The other driver, the man with pink lips, he told me." My heart pounded. I looked down at the ground. "He said you were at the temple, offering prayers for my health." "Yes, sir," I said, with sweat pouring down my face in relief. "That's right, sir." "Come inside the net," he said softly. I went in and sat next to him inside the mosquito net. He was looking at the roaches walking above us. "You live in such a hole, Balram." "I never knew. I'm sorry." "It's all right, sir. I'm used to it. I'll give you some money, Balram. You go into some better housing tomorrow, okay?" He caught my hand and turned it over. "Balram, what are all these red marks on your palm? Have you been pinching yourself?" "No, sir. It's a skin disease. I've got it here, too, behind my ear. See? All those pink spots." He came close, filling my nostrils with his perfume, bending my ear with a finger. Gently, he looked. "My, I never noticed. I sit behind you every day, and I never—" "A lot of people have this disease, sir. A lot of poor people." "Really? I haven't noticed. Can you get it treated?" "No, sir. The diseases of the poor can never get treated. My father had TB, and it killed him." "It's the 21st century, Balram. Anything can be treated. You go to the hospital and get it treated. Send me the bill. I'll pay it." "Thank you, sir," I said. Sir, do you want me to take you somewhere in the city? He opened his lips and then closed them without making any noise. He did this a couple of times, and then he said, "My way of living is all wrong, Balram. I know it, but I don't have the courage to change it. I just don't have the balls. Don't think so much about it, sir. And, sir, let's go upstairs, I beg you. This is not a place for a man of quality like yourself. I let people exploit me, Balram. I've never done what I've wanted. My whole life His head sagged. His whole body looked tired and worn. You should eat something, sir, I said. You look tired. He smiled, a big, trusting baby's smile. You're always thinking of me, Balram. Yes, I want to eat, but I don't want to go to another hotel, Balram. I'm sick of hotels. Take me to the kind of place you go to eat, Balram. Sir, I'm sick of the food I eat, Balram. I'm sick of the life I lead. We're rich people. We've lost our way, Balram. I want to be a simple man like you, Balram. Yes, sir. We walked outside, and I led him across the road and into a tea shop. Order for us, Balram. Order the commoners' food. I ordered okra, cauliflower, radish, spinach, and dal, enough to feed a whole family, or one rich man. He ate and burped and ate some more. This food is fantastic, and just 25 rupees. You people eat so well. When he was done, I ordered him a lassi, and when he took the first sip, he smiled. I like eating your kind of food. I smiled and thought, I like eating your kind of food too. The divorce papers will come through soon. That's what the lawyer said. All right. Should we start looking already? For another lawyer? No, for another girl. It's too early, Mukesh. It's been just 3 months since she left. I had driven Mr. Ashok to the train station. The mongoose had come to town again from Dhanbad. Now I was driving both of them back to the apartment. All right, take your time, but you must remarry. If you stay a divorced man, people won't respect you. They won't respect us. It's the way our society works. Listen to me. Last time you didn't listen. When you married a girl from outside our caste, our religion, you even refused to take dowry from her parents. This time we'll pick the girl. I heard nothing. I could tell that Mr. Ashok was clenching his teeth. I can see you're getting worked up, the mongoose said. We'll talk about it later. For now, take this. He handed his brother a red bag that he had brought with him from Dhanbad. Mr. Ashok clicked open the bag and peered inside, and at once the mongoose slammed the bag shut. Are you crazy? Don't open that here in the car. It's for Mukeshan, the fat man, the assistant. You know him, don't you? Yes, I know him. Mr. Ashok shrugged. Didn't we already pay those bastards off? The minister wants more. It's election time. Every time there's elections, we hand out cash, usually to both sides. But this time the government is going to win for sure. The opposition is in a total mess. So we just have to pay off the government, which is good for us. I'll come with you the first time, but it's a lot of money. And you may have to go a second and third time, too. And then there are a couple of bureaucrats we have to grease. Get it? It seems like this is all I get to do in Delhi. Take money out of banks and bribe people. Is this what I came back to India for? Don't be sarcastic. And remember, ask for the bag back each time. It's a good bag, Italian-made. No need to give them any additional gifts. Understand? Oh, hell, not another fucking traffic jam. Balram, play Sting again. It's the best music for a traffic jam. The driver knows who Sting is. Sure, he knows it's my favorite CD. Show us the Sting CD, Balram. See? He knows Sting. I put the CD into the player. 10 minutes passed, and the cars had not moved an inch. I replaced Sting with Enya. I replaced Enya with Eminem. Vendors came to the car with baskets of oranges or strawberries in plastic cases or newspapers or novels in English. The beggars were on the attack too. One beggar was carrying another on his shoulders, and going from car to car. The fellow on his shoulders had no legs below his knees. They went together from car to car, the fellow without the legs moaning and groaning, and the other fellow tapping or scratching the windows of the car. Without thinking much about it, I cracked open the egg. Rolling down the glass, I held out a rupee. The fellow with the deformed legs took it and saluted me. I rolled the window up and resealed the egg. The talking in the back seat stopped at once. "Who the hell told you to do that?" "Sorry, sir," I said. "Why the hell did you give that beggar a rupee? What cheek! Turn the music off." They really gave it to me that evening. Though their talk was normally in a mix of Hindi and English, the two brothers began speaking in chaste Hindi, entirely for my benefit. "Don't we give money each time we go to the temple?" the elder thug said. "We donate every year to the Cancer Institute. I buy that car that the school children come around selling. The other day I was speaking to our accountant, and he was saying, 'Sir, you have no money in your bank, it's all gone. Do you know how high the taxes are in this country?' The younger thug said. "If we gave any money, what would we have to eat?" That was when it struck me that there really was no difference between the two of them. They were both their father's seed. For the rest of the drive home, the mongoose pointedly kept his eyes on the rear-view mirror. He looked as if he had smelled something funny. When we reached Buckingham B, he said, "Come upstairs, Balram." "Yes, sir." We stood side by side in the elevator. When he opened the door of the apartment, he pointed to the floor. "Make yourself comfortable." I squatted below the photo of Cuddles and Puddles, and put my hands between my knees. He sat down on a chair, and rested his face in his palm, and just stared at me. His brow was furrowed. I could see a thought forming in his mind. He got up from his chair, walked over to where I was crouched, and got down on one knee. He sniffed the air. "Your breath smells of aniseed." "Yes, sir." "People chew that to hide the alcohol on their breath." "Have you been drinking?" "No, sir. My caste were teetotalers." He kept sniffing, coming closer all the time. I took in a big breath, held it in the pit of my belly, then I forced it out, in a belch, right to his face. "That's disgusting, Balram," he said with a look of horror. He stood up and took 2 steps back. "Sorry, sir." "Get out." I came out sweating. The next day I drove him and Mr. Ashok to some minister's or bureaucrat's house in New Delhi. They went out with the red bag. Afterwards I took them to a hotel where they had lunch. I gave the hotel staff instructions, no potatoes in the food, then drove the mongoose to the railway station. I put up with his usual threats and warnings, no AC, no music, no wasting fuel, blah, blah, blah. I stood on the platform and watched as he ate his snack. When the train left, I danced around the platform and clapped my hands. 2 homeless urchins were watching me, and they laughed. They clapped their hands too. One of them began singing a song from the latest Hindi film, and we danced together on the platform. Next morning, I was in the apartment, and Mr. Ashok was fiddling with the red bag and getting ready to leave, when the phone began to ring. I said, "I'll take the bag down, sir. I'll wait in the car." He hesitated, then held the bag out in my direction. "I'll join you in a minute." I closed the door of the apartment. I walked to the elevator, pressed the button, and waited. It was a heavy bag, and I had to shift it about in my palm. The elevator had reached the 4th floor. I turned and looked at the view from the balcony of the 13th floor. The lights were shining from Gurgaon's malls, even in broad daylight. A new mall had opened in the past week. Another one was under construction. The city was growing. The elevator was coming up fast. It was about to reach the 11th floor. I turned and ran. Kicking the door of the fire escape open, hurrying down 2 flights of dark stairs, I clicked the red bag open. All at once, the entire stairwell filled up with dazzling light, the kind that only money can give out. 25 minutes later, when Mr. Ashok came down, punching the buttons on his cell phone. He found the red bag waiting for him on his seat. I held up a shining silver disc as he closed the door. "Shall I play Sting for you, sir?" As we drove, I tried hard not to look at the red bag. It was torture for me, just like when Pinky Madam used to sit in short skirts. At a red light, I looked at the rear-view mirror. I saw my thick mustache and my jaw. I touched the mirror. The angle of the image changed. Now I saw long, beautiful eyebrows, curving on either side of powerful, furrowed brow muscles. Black eyes were shining below those tensed muscles, the eyes of a cat watching its prey. "Go on. Just look at the red bag, Balram. That's not stealing, is it?" I shook my head. "And even if you were to steal it, Balram, it wouldn't be stealing." "How so?" I looked at the creature in the mirror. "See, Mr. Ashok is giving money to all these politicians in Delhi so that they will excuse him from the tax he has to pay. And who owns that tax, in the end? Who but the ordinary people of this country? You." "What is it, Balram? Did you say something?" I tapped the mirror. My mustache rose into view again, and the eyes disappeared, and it was only my own face staring at me now. "This fellow in front of me is driving rashly, sir," I was just grumbling. "Keep your cool, Balram. You're a good driver. Don't let the bad ones get to you." The city knew my secret. One morning the president's house was covered in smog and blotted out from the road. It seemed as though there were no government in Delhi that day, and the dense pollution that was hiding the Prime Minister and all his ministers and bureaucrats said to me, "They won't see a thing you do. I'll make sure of that." I drove past the red wall of Parliament House. A guard with a gun was watching me from a lookout post on the red wall. He put his gun down the moment he saw me. Why would I stop you? I'd do the same if I could. At night, a woman walked with a cellophane bag. My headlights shone into the bag and turned the cellophane transparent. I saw 4 large, dark fruits inside the bag, and each dark fruit said, "You've already done it. In your heart, you've already taken it." Then the headlights passed. The cellophane turned opaque. The 4 dark fruits vanished. Even the road, the smooth, polished road of Delhi that is the finest in all of India, knew my secret. One day at a traffic signal, the driver of the car next to me lowered the window and spat out. He had been chewing pan, and a vivid red puddle of expectorate splashed on the hot midday road and festered there like a living thing, spreading and sizzling. A second later he spat again, and now there was a second puddle on the road. I stared at the 2 puddles of red, spreading spit. And then the left-hand puddle of spit seemed to say, "Your father wanted you to be an honest man." But the right-hand puddle of spit seemed to say, "Your father wanted you to be a man." Mr. Ashok does not hit you or spit on you like people did to your father. Mr. Ashok made you take the blame when his wife killed that child on the road. Mr. Ashok pays you well, 4,000 rupees a month. What do you save? Nothing. He has been raising your salary without your even asking. This is a pittance. You live in a city. I turned my face away from the red puddles. I looked at the red bag sitting in the center of my rear-view mirror, like the exposed heart of the Honda City. That day I dropped Mr. Ashok off at the Imperial Hotel, and he said, "I'll be back in 20 minutes, Balram." Instead of parking the car, I drove to the train station, which is in Paharganj, not far from the hotel. People were lying on the floor of the station. Dogs were sniffing at the garbage. The air was moldy. So this is what it will be like, I thought. The destinations of all the trains were up on a blackboard. Benares, Jammu, Amritsar, Mumbai, Ranchi. What would be my destination if I were to come here with a red bag in my hand? As if in answer, shining wheels and bright lights began flashing in the darkness. Now, if you visit any train station in India, you will see as you stand waiting for your train, a row of bizarre-looking machines with red light bulbs, kaleidoscopic wheels, and whirling yellow circles. These are your fortune and wait for 1 rupee machines that stand on every rail platform in the country. They work like this. You put your bags down to the side. You stand on them. Then you insert a 1 rupee coin into the slot. The machine comes to life. Levers start to move inside. Things go clankety-clank and the lights flash like crazy. Then there is a loud noise, and a small, stiff chit of cardboard, colored either green or yellow, will pop out of the machine. The lights and noise calm down. On this chit will be written your fortune and your weight in kilograms. 2 kinds of people use these machines: the children of the rich or the fully grown adults of the poorer class, who remain all their lives children. I stood gazing at the machines, like a man without a mind. 6 glowing machines were shining at me, light bulbs of green and yellow and kaleidoscopes of gold and black that were turning around and around. I got up on one of the machines. I sacrificed a rupee. It gobbled the coin, made noise, gave off more lights, and released a chit. Lunar Scales Company, New Delhi, 110055. Your weight, 59. Respect for the law is the first command of the gods. I let the fortune-telling chit fall on the floor, and I laughed. Even here, in the weight machine of a train station, they try to hoodwink us. Here, on the threshold of a man's freedom, just before he boards a train to a new life, these flashing fortune machines are the final alarm bell of the rooster coop. The sirens of the coop were ringing, its wheels turning, its red lights flashing. A rooster was escaping from the coop. A hand was thrust out. I was picked up by the neck and shoved back into the coop. I picked the chit up and reread it. My heart began to sweat. I sat down on the floor. Think, Balram, think of what the buffalo did to his servant's family. Above me I heard wings thrashing. Pigeons were sitting on the roof beams all around the station. 2 of them had flown from a beam and began wheeling directly over my head, as if in slow motion. Pulled into their breasts, I saw 2 sets of red claws. Not far from me, I saw a woman lying on the floor with nice full breasts inside a tight blouse. She was snoring. I could see a 1 rupee note stuffed into her cleavage, its lettering and color visible through the weave of her bright green blouse. She had no luggage. That was all she had in the world. 1 rupee. And yet look at her, snoring blissfully without a care in the world. Why couldn't things be so simple for me? A low growling noise made me turn. A black dog was turning in circles behind me. A pink patch of skin, an open wound, glistened on its left butt, and the dog had twisted on itself in an attempt to gnaw at the wound. The wound was just out of reach of its teeth, but the dog was going crazy from pain, trying to attack the wound with its slavering mouth. It kept moving in mad, precise, pointless circles. I looked at the sleeping woman, at her heaving breasts. Behind me the growling went on and on. That Sunday, I took Mr. Ashok's permission, saying I wanted to go to a temple, and went into the city. I took a bus down to Kutub, and from there a jeep taxi down to G.B. Road. This, Mr. Premier, is the famous red light district, as they say in English, of Delhi. An hour here would clear all the evil thoughts out of my head. When you retain semen in your lower body, it leads to evil movements in the fluids of your upper body. In the darkness, we know this to be a fact. It was just 5 o'clock and still light, but the women were waiting for me, as they wait for all men at all times of the day. Now, I've been to these streets before, as I've confessed to you, but this time was different. I heard them above me, the women, jeering and taunting from the grilled windows of the brothels, but this time I couldn't bear to look up at them. A pan-maker sat on a wooden stool outside the gaudy blue door of a brothel, using a knife to spread spices on moist leaves that he had picked out of a bowl of water, which is the first step in the preparation of pan. In the small square space below his stall sat another man, boiling milk in a vessel over the hissing blue flame of a gas stove. "What's the matter with you? Look at the women." The pimp, a small man with a big nose covered in red warts, had caught me by the wrist. "You look like you can afford a foreign girl. Take a Nepali girl. Aren't they beauties? Look up at them, son." He took my chin. Maybe he thought I was a shy virgin out on my first expedition here, and forced me to look up. The Nepalis up there, behind the barred window, were really good-looking, very light-skinned, and with those Chinese eyes that just drive us Indian men mad. I shook the pimp's hand off my face. "Take anyone, take all. Aren't you man enough, son?" Normally this would have been enough for me to burst into the brothel hollering for blood. But sometimes what is most animal in a man may be the best thing in him. From my waist down nothing stirred. They're like parrots in a cage. It'll be one animal fucking another animal. "Chew pan, it will help you if you're having trouble getting it up," the seller of pan shouted from his stand. He held up a fresh, wet pan leaf and shook it so the droplets splashed on my face. "Drink hot milk. It helps too," shouted the small, shrunken man below him, who was boiling the milk. I watched the milk. It seethed and spilled down the sides of the stainless steel vessel. The small, shrunken man smiled. He provoked the boiling milk with a spoon. It became frothier and frothier, hissing with outrage. I charged into the pan seller, pushing him off his perch, scattering his leaves and spilling his water. I kicked the midget in his face. Screams broke out from above. The pimps rushed at me, shoving and kicking for dear life. I ran out of that street. Now GB Road is in Old Delhi, about which I should say something. Remember, Mr. Premier, that Delhi is the capital of not one but two countries, two Indias. The light and the darkness both flow into Delhi. Gurgaon, where Mr. Ashok lived, is the bright modern end of the city, and this place, Old Delhi, is the other end, full of things the modern world forgot all about: rickshaws, old stone buildings, the Muslims. On a Sunday, though, there is something more. If you keep pushing through the crowd that is always there, go past the men cleaning the other men's ears by poking rusty metal rods into them, past the men selling small fish trapped in green bottles full of brine, past the cheap shoe market and the cheap shirt market, you will come to the great second-hand book market of Daryaganj. You may have heard of this market, sir, since it is one of the wonders of the world. Tens of thousands of dirty, rotting, blackened books on every subject: technology, medicine, sexual pleasure, philosophy, education, and foreign countries, heaped upon the pavement, from Delhi Gate onwards, all the way until you get to the market in front of the Red Fort. Some books are so old they crumble when you touch them. Some have silverfish feasting on them. Some look like they were retrieved from a flood or from a fire. Most shops on the pavement are shuttered down. But the restaurants are still open, and the smell of fried food mingles with the smell of rotting paper. Rusting exhaust fans turn slowly in the ventilators of the restaurants like the wings of giant moths. I went amid the books and sucked in the air. It was like oxygen after the stench of the brothel. There was a thick crowd of book buyers fighting over the books with the sellers, and I pretended to be one of the buyers. I leapt into the books, picking them up, reading them like this, flip, 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 until a bookseller shouted, "You're going to buy it or read it for free." "It's no good," I would say, and put the book down, and go to the next bookseller, and pick up something he had, and flip, 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 never paying anyone a single rupee, flipping through books for free. I kept looting bookseller after bookseller all evening long. Some books were in Urdu, the language of the Muslims, which is all just scratches and dots, as if some crow dipped its feet in black ink and pressed them to the page. I was going through one such book when a bookseller said, "Can you read Urdu?" He was an old Muslim, with a pitch-black face that was bedewed with sweat, like a begonia leaf after the rains, and a long white beard. I said, Can you read Urdu?" He opened the book, cleared his throat, and read, "You were looking for the key for years." Understood that? He looked at me, wide furrows on his black forehead. "Yes, Muslim uncle." "Shut up, you liar, and listen." He cleared his throat again. "You were looking for the key for years, but the door was always open." He closed the book. "That's called poetry. Now get lost." "Please, Muslim uncle," I begged. "I'm just a rickshaw puller's son from the darkness. Tell me all about poetry. Who wrote the poem?" He shook his head, but I kept flattering him, telling him how fine his beard was, how fair his skin was. How it was obvious from his nose and forehead that he wasn't some pig-herd who had converted, but a true blue Muslim who had flown here on a magic carpet all the way from Mecca, and he grunted with satisfaction. He read me another poem, and another one, and he explained the true history of poetry, which is a kind of secret, a magic known only to wise men. Mr. Premier, I won't be saying anything new if I say that the history of the world is the history of a 10,000-year war of brains between the rich and the poor. Each side is eternally trying to hoodwink the other side, and it has been this way since the start of time. The poor win a few battles, the peeing in the potted plants, the kicking of the pet dogs, etc. But of course the rich have won the war for 10,000 years. That's why, one day, some wise men, out of compassion for the poor, left them signs and symbols in poems, which appeared to be about roses and pretty girls and things like that, but when understood correctly, spill out secrets that allow the poorest man on earth to conclude the 10,000-year-old brain war on terms favorable to himself. Now the four greatest of these wise poets were Rumi, Iqbal, Mirza Ghalib, and another fellow whose name I was told but have forgotten. Who was that fourth poet? It drives me crazy that I can't recall his name. If you know it, send me an email. Muslim uncle, I have another question for you. What do I look like? Your school teacher? Don't keep asking me questions. The last one, I promise. Tell me, Muslim uncle, can a man make himself vanish with poetry? What do you mean? Like vanish through black magic? He looked at me. Yes, that can be done. There are books for that. You want to buy one? No, not vanish like that. I mean, can he... The bookseller had narrowed his eyes. The sweat beads had grown larger on his huge black forehead. I smiled at him. Forget I asked that, Muslim uncle. And then I warned myself never to talk to this old man again. He knew too much already. My eyes were burning from squinting at books. I should have been heading back toward Delhi Gate to catch a bus. There was a foul taste of book in my mouth, as if I had inhaled so much particulated old paper from the air. Strange thoughts brew in your heart when you spend too much time with old books. But instead of going back to the bus, I wandered farther into Old Delhi. I had no idea where I was going. Everything grew quiet the moment I left the main road. I saw some men sitting on a charpoy, smoking, others lying on the ground and sleeping. Eagles flew above the houses. Then the wind blew an enormous gust of buffalo into my face. Everyone knows there is a butcher's quarter somewhere in Old Delhi, but not many have seen it. It is one of the wonders of the old city, a row of open sheds, and big buffaloes standing in each shed with their butts toward you, and their tails swatting flies away like windshield wipers, and their feet deep in immense pyramids of shit. I stood there, inhaling the smell of their bodies. It had been so long since I had smelled buffalo. The horrible city air was driven out of my lungs. A rattling noise of wooden wheels. I saw a buffalo coming down the road, pulling a large cart behind it. There was no human sitting on this cart with a whip. The buffalo just knew on its own where to go, and it was coming down the road. I stood to the side, and as it passed me, I saw that this cart was full of the faces of dead buffaloes. Faces, I say, but I should say skulls, stripped even of the skin, except for the little black bit of skin at the tip of the nose, from which the nostril hairs still stuck out, like last defiant bits of the personality of the dead buffalo. The rest of the faces were gone. Even the eyes had been gouged out. And the living buffalo walked on, without a master, drawing its load of death to the place where it knew it had to go. I walked along with that poor animal for a while, staring at the dead, stripped faces of the buffaloes. And then the strangest thing happened, Your Excellency. I swear the buffalo that was pulling the cart turned its face to me and said in a voice not unlike my father's, "Your brother Kishan was beaten to death. Happy?" It was like experiencing a nightmare in the minutes before you wake up. You know it's a dream, but you can't wake up just yet. Your Aunt Lutu was raped and then beaten to death. Happy? Your grandmother Kusum was kicked to death. Happy? The buffalo glared at me. "Shame," it said, and then it took a big step forward, and the cart passed by, full of dead-skinned faces, which seemed to me at that moment the faces of my own family. The next morning Mr. Ashok came down to the car, smiling, and with the red bag in his hand. He slammed the door. I looked at the ogre and swallowed hard. "Sir." "What is it, Balram?" "Sir, there's something I've been meaning to tell you for a while." And I took my finger off the ignition key. I swear I was ready to make a full confession right there. Had he said the right word? Had he touched my shoulder the right way? But he wasn't looking at me. He was busy with the cell phone and its buttons. Punch, punch, punch. To have a madman with thoughts of blood and theft in his head sitting just 10 inches in front of you, and not to know it, not to have a hint even, what blindness you people are capable of. Here you are, sitting in glass buildings and talking on the phone night after night to Americans who are thousands of miles away, but you don't have the faintest idea what's happening to the man who's driving your car. What is it, Balram? Just this, sir, that I want to smash your skull open. He leaned forward. He brought his lips right to my ear. I was ready to melt. I understand, Balram. I closed my eyes. I could barely speak. You do, sir? You want to get married? Balram, you'll need some money, won't you? Sir, no. There's no need of that. Wait, Balram. Let me take out my wallet. You're a good member of the family. You never ask for more money. I know that other drivers are constantly asking for overtime and insurance, but you never say a word. You're old-fashioned. I like that. We'll take care of all the wedding expenses, Balram. Here, Balram. Here's... I saw him take out 1,000 rupee note, put it back, then take out a 500, then put it back, and take out 100, which he handed to me. I assume you'll be going to Laxmangarh for the wedding, Balram. Maybe I'll come along, he said. I really like that place. I want to go up to that fort this time. How long ago was it that we were there, Balram? 6 months ago? Longer than that, sir. I counted the months off on my fingers. 8 months ago. He counted the months too. Why, you're right. I folded the 100 rupee note and put it in my chest pocket. Thank you for this, sir, I said, and turned the ignition key. Early next morning I walked out of Buckingham Bee onto the main road. Though it was a brand-new building, there was already a leak in the drainage pipe, and a large patch of sewage darkened the earth outside the compound wall. 3 stray dogs were sleeping on the wet patch, a good way to cool off. Summer had started, and even the nights were unpleasant now. The 3 mutts seemed so comfortable. I got down on my haunches and watched them. I put my finger on the dark sewage puddle. So cool, so tempting. One of the stray dogs woke up, yawned and showed me all its canines. It sprang to its feet. The other mutts got up too. A growling began, and a scratching of the wet mud, and a showing of teeth. They wanted me off their kingdom. I surrendered the sewage to the dogs, and headed for the malls. None of them had opened yet. I sat down on the pavement. No idea where to go next. That's when I saw the small dark marks in the pavement. Paw prints. An animal had walked on the concrete before it had set. I got up and walked after the animal. The space between the prints grew wider. The animal had begun to sprint. I walked faster. The paw prints of the accelerating animal went all the way around the malls, and then behind the malls, and at last, where the pavement ended and raw earth began, they vanished. Here I had to stop, because 5 feet ahead of me a row of men squatted on the ground in a nearly perfect straight line. They were defecating. I was at the slum. Vitiligo lips had told me about this place. All these construction workers who were building the malls and giant apartment buildings lived here. They were from a village in the darkness. They did not like outsiders coming in, except for those who had business after dark. The men were defecating in the open like a defensive wall in front of the slum, making a line that no respectable human should cross. The wind wafted the stench of fresh shit toward me. I found a gap in the line of the defecators. They squatted there like stone statues. These people were building homes for the rich, but they lived in tents covered with blue tarpaulin sheets and partitioned into lanes by lines of sewage. It was even worse than Laxmangar. I picked my way around the broken glass, wire and shattered tube lights. The stench of feces was replaced by the stronger stench of industrial sewage. The slum ended in an open sewer. A small river of black water went sluggishly past me, bubbles sparkling in it, and little circles spreading on its surface. 2 children were splashing about in the black water. 100 rupee note came flying down into the river. The children watched with open mouths, and then ran to catch the note before it floated away. One child caught it, and then the other began hitting him, and they began to tumble about in the black water as they fought. I went back to the line of crappers. One of them had finished up and left, but his position had been filled. I squatted down with them and grinned. A few immediately turned their eyes away. They were still human beings. Some stared at me blankly as if shame no longer mattered to them. And then I saw one fellow, a thin black fellow, was grinning back at me as if he were proud of what he was doing. Still crouching, I moved myself over to where he was squatting and faced him. I smiled as wide as I could. So did he. He began to laugh, and I began to laugh, and then all the crappers laughed together. "We'll take care of your wedding expenses," I shouted. "We'll take care of your wedding expenses," he shouted back. "We'll even fuck your wife for you, Balram. We'll even fuck your wife for you, Balram." He began laughing, laughing so violently that he fell down face first into the ground, still laughing, exposing his stained ass to the stained sky of Delhi. As I walked back, the malls had begun to open. I washed my face in the common toilet and wiped my hands clean of the slum. I walked into the parking lot, found an iron wrench, aimed a couple of practice blows, and then took it to my room. A boy was waiting for me near my bed, holding a letter between his teeth as he adjusted the buttons on his pants. He turned around when he heard me. The letter flew out of his mouth and to the ground. The wrench fell out of my hand at the same time. "They sent me here. I took the bus and train and asked people and came here." He blinked. "They said you have to take care of me and make me a driver too." "Who the hell are you?" "Dharam," he said. "I'm Lutu Auntie's 4th son. You saw me when you came to Laxmangar last time. I was wearing a red shirt. You kissed me here." He pointed to the top of his head. Picking up the letter, he held it out to me. "Dear grandson, it has been a long time since you came to visit us, and an even longer time, a total of 11 months and 2 days, since you last sent us any money. The city has corrupted your soul and made you selfish, vainglorious and evil. I knew from the start that this would happen because you were a spiteful, insolent boy. Every chance you got, you just stared at yourself in a mirror with open lips, and I had to wring your ears to make you do any work. You are just like your mother. It is her nature, and not your father's sweet nature, that you have. So far we have borne our sufferings patiently, but we will not do so. You must send us money again. If you don't, we'll tell your master. Also, we have decided to arrange for your wedding on our own, and if you do not come here, we will send the girl to you by bus. I say these things not to threaten you, but out of love. After all, am I not your own grandmother? And how I used to stuff your mouth with sweets. Also, it is your duty to look after Dharam, and take care of him as if he were your own son. Now take care of your health, and remember that I am preparing lovely chicken dishes for you, which I will send to you by mail, along with the letter that I will write to your master. Your loving granny, Kusum. I folded the letter, put it in my pocket, and then slapped the boy so hard that he staggered back, hit the side of the bed, and fell into it, pulling down the mosquito net as he fell. "Get up," I said. "I'm going to hit you again." I picked up the wrench and held it over him, then threw it to the floor. The boy's face had turned blue, and his lip was split and bleeding, and he still hadn't said a word. I sat in the mosquito net, sipping from a half bottle of whiskey. I watched the boy. I had come to the edge of the precipice. I had been ready to slay my master. This boy's arrival had saved me from murder and a lifetime in prison. That evening I told Mr. Ashok that my family had sent me a helper, someone to keep the car tidy, and instead of getting angry that he would now have to feed another mouth, which is what most of the masters would have done, he said, "He's a cute boy. He looks like you. What happened to his face?" I turned to Dharam. "Tell him." He blinked a couple of times. He was thinking it over. "I fell off the bus." "Smart boy. Take care in the future," Mr. Ashok said. "This is great, Balram. You will have company from now on." Dharam was a quiet little fellow. He didn't ask for anything from me. He slept on the floor where I told him to. He minded his own business. Feeling guilty for what I'd done, I took him to the tea shop. "Who teaches at the school these days, Dharam? Is it still Mr. Krishna?" "Yes, uncle." "Is he still stealing the money for the uniforms and the food?" "Yes, uncle." "Good man." "I went for 5 years, and then Kusum Granny said that was enough." "Let's see what you learned in 5 years. Do you know the 8 times table?" "Yes, uncle." "Let's hear it." 8 ones are 8. "That's easy. What's next?" 8 twos are 16. "Wait." I counted out on my fingers to make sure he had got it right. "All right. Go on. Order me a tea, too, won't you?" Vitiligo sat down next to me. He smiled at Dharam. "Order it yourself," I said. He pouted. "Is that any way for you to be talking to me, working-class hero?" Dharam was watching us keenly, so I said, "This boy is from my village, from my family. I'm talking to him now. 8 threes are 24. "I don't care who he is," Vitiligo said. "Order me a tea, working-class hero." He flexed his palm near my face. 5 fingers. That meant I want 500 rupees. "I've got nothing." 8 fours are 32. He drew a line across his neck and smiled. "Your master will know everything. What's your name, boy?" "Dharam." "What a nice name. Do you know what it means?" "Yes, sir." "Does your uncle know what it means?" "Shut up," I said. It was the time of the day when the tea shop got cleaned. One of the human spiders dropped a wet rag on the floor and started to crawl with it, pushing a growing wavelet of stinking ink-black water ahead of him. Even the mice scampered out of the shop. The customers sitting at the tables were not spared. The black puddle splashed them as it passed. Bits of BDs, shiny plastic wrappers, punched bus tickets, snippets of onion, sprigs of fresh coriander floated on the black water. The reflection of a naked electric bulb shone out of the scum like a yellow gemstone. As the black water went past, a voice inside me said, "But your heart has become even blacker than that, Munna." That night Dharam woke up when he heard the shrieking. He came to the mosquito net. "Uncle, what's going on?" "Turn on the light, you fool! Turn on the light!" He did so, and saw me paralyzed inside the net. I could not even point at the thing. A thick-bodied grey gecko had come down from the wall and was on my bed. Dharam began to grin. "I'm not joking, you moron. Get it out of my bed." He stuck his hand into the net, grabbed the lizard, and smashed it under his foot. "Throw it somewhere far, far away, outside the room, outside the apartment building." I saw the bewildered look in his eyes. Afraid of a lizard? A grown man like my uncle. Good, I thought, just as he was turning off the lights. He'll never suspect that I'm planning anything. An instant later, my grin faded. What was I planning? I began to sweat. I stared at the anonymous palm prints that had been pressed into the white plaster of the wall. A cane began tapping on concrete. The night watchman of Buckingham B was doing his rounds with his long cane. When the tapping of the cane died out, there was no noise inside the room except for the buzzing of the roaches as they chewed on the walls or flew about. It was another hot, humid night. Even the roaches must have been sweating. I could barely breathe. Just when I thought I'd never go to sleep, I began reciting a couplet over and over again. I was looking for the key for years, but the door was always open, and then I was asleep. I should have noticed the stenciled signs on the walls, in which a pair of hands smashed through shackles. I should have stopped and listened to the young men in red headbands shouting from the trucks, but I had been so wrapped up in my own troubles that I had paid no attention at all to something very important that was happening to my country. 2 days later, I was taking Mr. Ashok down to Lodi Gardens, along with Miss Uma. He was spending more and more time with her these days. The romance was blossoming. My nose was getting used to her perfume. I no longer sneezed when she moved. "So you still haven't done it, Ashok? Is it going to be like last time all over again?" "It's not so simple, Uma. Mukesh and I have had a fight over you already. I will put my foot down. But give me some time. I need to get over the divorce. Balram, why have you turned the music up so loud?" "I like it loud. It's romantic. Maybe he's done it deliberately." "Look, it'll happen. Trust me, it's just... Balram, why the hell haven't you turned the music down? Sometimes these people from the darkness are so stupid." "I told you that already, Ashok." Her voice dropped. I caught the words replacement, driver, and local in English. "Have you thought about getting a replacement driver, a local driver?" He mumbled his reply. I could not hear a word, but I did not have to. I looked at the rear-view mirror. I wanted to confront him eye to eye, man to man, but he wouldn't look at me in the mirror, didn't dare face me. I tell you, you could have heard the grinding of my teeth just then. I thought I was making plans for him. He'd been making plans for me. The rich are always one step ahead of us, aren't they? Well, not this time. For every step he'd take, I'd take 2. Outside on the road, a street-side vendor was sitting next to a pyramid of motorbike helmets that were wrapped in plastic and looked like a pile of severed heads. Just when we were about to reach the gardens, we saw that the road was blocked on all sides. A line of trucks had gathered in front of us, full of men who were shouting, "Hail the great socialist! Hail the voice of the poor of India!" What the hell is going on? Haven't you seen the news today, Ashok? They are announcing the results. Fuck, he said. Balram, turn Enya off and turn on the radio. The voice of the great socialist came on. He was being interviewed by a radio reporter. The election shows that the poor will not be ignored, the darkness will not be silent. There is no water in our taps, and what do you people in Delhi give us? You give us cell phones. Can a man drink a cell phone when he is thirsty? Women walk for miles every morning to find a bucket of clean. Do you want to become Prime Minister of India? Don't ask me such questions. I have no ambitions for myself. I am simply the voice of the poor and the disenfranchised. But surely, sir, let me say one last word, if I may. All I have ever wanted was an India where any boy in any village could dream of becoming the Prime Minister. Now, as I was saying, women walk for... According to the radio, the ruling party had been hammered at the polls. A new set of parties had come to power. The great Socialists' Party was one of them. He had taken the votes of a big part of the darkness. As we drove back to Gurgaon, we saw hordes of his supporters pouring in from the darkness. They drove where they wanted, did what they wanted, whistled at any woman they felt like whistling at. Delhi had been invaded. Mr. Ashok did not call me the rest of the day. In the evening he came down and said he wanted to go to the Imperial Hotel. He was on the cell phone the whole time, punching buttons and making calls and screaming. We're totally fucked, Uma. This is why I hate this business I'm in. We're at the mercy of these... Don't yell at me, Mukesh. You were the one who said the elections were a foregone conclusion. Yes, you. And now we'll never get out of our income tax mess. All right. I'm doing it, Father. I'm going to meet him right now at the Imperial. He was still on the phone when I dropped him off at the Imperial Hotel. 42 minutes passed, and then he came out with 2 men. Leaning down to the window, he said, "Do whatever they want, Balram. I'm taking a taxi back from here. When they're done, bring the car back to Buckingham." "Yes, sir." The 2 men slapped him on the back. He bowed and opened the door for them himself. If he was kissing ass like this, they had to be politicians. The 2 men got in. My heart began to pound. The man on the right was my childhood hero, Vijay, the pig-herd son-turned-bus conductor-turned-politician from Laxmangarh. He had changed uniforms again. Now he was wearing the polished suit and tie of a modern Indian businessman. He ordered me to drive toward Ashoka Road. He turned to his companion and said, "The sister fucker finally gave me his car." The other man grunted. He lowered the window and spat. "He knows he has to show us some respect now, doesn't he?" Vijay chortled. He raised his voice. "Do you have anything to drink in the car, son?" I turned around. Fat nuggets of gold were studded into his rotting black molars. "Yes, sir." "Let's see it." I opened the glove compartment and handed him the bottle. "It's good stuff. Johnny Walker Black. Son, do you have glasses too?" "Yes, sir." "Ice?" "No, sir." "It's all right. Let's drink it neat. Son, pour us a drink." I did so, while keeping the Honda City going with my left hand. They took the glasses and drank the whiskey like it was lemon juice. "If he doesn't have it ready, let me know. I'll send some boys over to have a word with him." "No, don't worry. His father always paid up in the end. This kid has been to America and has his head full of shit, but he'll pay up too in the end." "How much?" "7. I was going to settle for 5, but the sister fucker himself offered 6. He's a bit soft in the head. And then I said 7, and he said okay. I told him if he didn't pay, we'd screw him and his father and his brother and the whole coal-pilfering and tax-evading racket they have. So he began to sweat, and I know he'll pay up." "Are you sure? I'd love to send some boys over. I just love to see a rich man roughed up. It's better than an erection." "There will be others. This one isn't worth the trouble. He said he'll bring it on Monday. We're going to do it at the Sheraton. There's a nice restaurant down in the basement. Quiet place." "Good. He can buy us dinner as well." "Goes without saying. They have lovely kebabs there." One of the 2 men gargled the scotch in his mouth, gulped it in, burped and sucked his teeth. "You know what the best part of this election is?" "What?" "The way we've spread down south. We've got a foothold in Bangalore, too. And you know, that's where the future is. The South. Bullshit. Why not? 1 in every 3 new office buildings in India is being built in Bangalore. It is the future. Fuck all that. I don't believe a word. The South is full of Tamils. You know who the Tamils are? Negroes. We are the sons of the Aryans who came to India. We made them our slaves. And now they give us lectures. Negroes. Son. Vijay leaned forward with his glass. Another drink for me. I poured them out the rest of the bottle that night. At around 3 in the morning, I drove the city back to the apartment block in Gurgaon. My heart was beating so fast, I didn't want to leave the car at once. I wiped it down and washed it 3 times over. The bottle was lying on the floor of the car. Johnny Walker Black. Even an empty one is worth money on the black market. I picked it up and went toward the servants' dormitory. For a Johnny Walker Black, vitiligo lips wouldn't mind being woken up. I walked, rotating the bottle with my wrist, feeling its weight. Even empty, it wasn't so light. I noticed that my feet were slowing down, and the bottle was rotating faster and faster. I was looking for the key for years. The smashing of the bottle echoed through the hollow of the parking lot. The sound must have reached the lobby and ricocheted through all the floors of the building, even to the 13th floor. I waited for a few minutes, expecting someone to come running down. No one. I was safe. I held what was left of the bottle up to the light. Long and cruel and claw-like jags. Perfect. With my foot, I gathered the broken pieces of the bottle, which lay all around me, into a pile. I wiped the blood off my hand, found a broom and swept the area clean. Then I got down on my knees and looked around for any pieces I had failed to pick up. The parking lot echoed with the line of a poem that was being recited over and over. But the door was always open. Dharam was sleeping on the floor. Cockroaches were crawling about his head. I shook him awake and said, "Lie inside the mosquito net." He got in sleepily. I lay on the floor, braving the cockroaches. There was still some blood on my palm. 3 small red drops had formed on my flesh, like a row of ladybirds on a leaf. Sucking my palm like a boy, I went to sleep. Mr. Ashok did not want me to drive him anywhere on Sunday morning. I washed the dishes in the kitchen, wiped the fridge, and said, "I'd like to take the morning off, sir." "Why?" he asked, lowering the newspaper. "You've never asked for a whole morning off before. Where are you off to?" "And you have never before asked me where I was going when I left the house. What has Miss Uma done to you?" "I want to spend some time with the boy, sir, at the zoo. I thought he would like to see all those animals." He smiled. "You're a good family man, Balram. Go. Have fun with the boy." He went back to reading his newspaper, but I caught a gleam of cunning in his eye as he went over the English print of the newspaper. As we walked out of Buckingham Tower's B block, I told Dharam to wait for me, then went back and watched the entrance to the building. Half an hour passed, and then Mr. Ashok was down at the lobby. A small, dark man of the servant class had come to see him. Mr. Ashok and he talked for a while, and then the small man bowed and left. They looked like 2 men who had just concluded a deal. I went back to where Dharam was waiting. "Let's go." He and I took the bus to the old fort, which is where the National Zoo is. I kept my hand on Dharam's head the whole time. He must have thought it was out of affection, but it was only to stop my hand from trembling. It had been shaking all morning, like a lizard's tail that has fallen off. The first strike would be mine. Everything was in place now. Nothing could go wrong. But like I told you, I am not a brave man. The bus was crowded, and the 2 of us had to stand for the entire journey. We both sweated like pigs. I had forgotten what a bus trip in summer was like. When we stopped at a red light, a Mercedes-Benz pulled up alongside the bus. Behind his upraised window, cool in his egg, the chauffeur grinned at us, exposing red teeth. There was a long line at the ticket counter of the zoo. There were lots of families wanting to go into the zoo, and that I could understand. What puzzled me, though, was the sight of so many young men and women going into the zoo, hand in hand, giggling, pinching each other and making eyes, as if the zoo were a romantic place. That made no sense to me. Now, Mr. Premier, every day thousands of foreigners fly into my country for enlightenment. They go to the Himalayas, or to Benares, or to Bodh Gaya. They get into weird poses of yoga, smoke hashish, shag a sadhu or two, and think they're getting enlightened. Ha! If it is enlightenment you have come to India for, you people, forget the ganja, forget the ashrams, go straight to the National Zoo in the heart of New Delhi. Dharam and I saw the golden-beaked storks sitting on palm trees in the middle of an artificial lake. They swooped down over the green water of the lake and showed us traces of pink on their wings. In the background you could see the broken walls of the old fort. Iqbal, the great poet, was so right. The moment you recognize what is beautiful in this world, you stop being a slave. To hell with the Naxals and their guns shipped from China. If you taught every poor boy how to paint, that would be the end of the rich in India. I made sure Dharam appreciated the gorgeous rise and fall of the fort's outline, the way its loopholes filled up with blue sky, the way the old stones glittered in the light. We walked for half an hour from cage to cage. The lion and the lioness were apart from each other and not talking, like a true city couple. The hippo was lying in a giant pond full of mud. Dharam wanted to do what others were doing, throw a stone at the hippo to stir it up, but I told him that would be a cruel thing. Hippos lie in mud and do nothing. That's their nature. Let animals live like animals, let humans live like humans. That's my whole philosophy in a sentence. I told Dharam it was time to leave, but he made faces and pleaded, 5 minutes, uncle. All right, 5 minutes. We came to an enclosure with tall bamboo bars, and there, seen in the interstices of the bars, as it paced back and forth in a straight line, was a tiger. Not any kind of tiger. The creature that gets born only once every generation in the jungle. I watched him walk behind the bamboo bars. Black stripes and sunlit white fur flashed through the slits in the dark bamboo. It was like watching the slowed-down reels of an old black-and-white film. He was walking in the same line again and again, from one end of the bamboo bars to the other, then turning around and repeating it over at exactly the same pace, like a thing under a spell. He was hypnotizing himself by walking like this. That was the only way he could tolerate this cage. Then the thing behind the bamboo bars stopped moving. It turned its face to my face. The tiger's eyes met my eyes, like my master's eyes have met mine so often in the mirror of the car. All at once, the tiger vanished. A tingling went from the base of my spine into my groin. My knees began to shake. I felt light. Someone near me shrieked, "His eyes are rolling, he's going to faint!" I tried to shout back at her, "It's not true, I'm not fainting." I tried to show them all I was fine, but my feet were slipping. The ground beneath me was shaking. Something was digging its way toward me, and then claws tore out of the mud and dug into my flesh and pulled me down into the dark earth. My last thought, before everything went dark, was that now I understood those pinches and raptures. Now I understood why lovers come to the zoo. That evening, Dharam and I sat on the floor in my room, and I spread a blue letter before him. I put a pen in his hands. "I'm going to see how good a letter writer you are, Dharam. I want you to write to Granny and tell her what happened today at the zoo." He wrote it down in his slow, beautiful hand. He told her about the hippos, and the chimpanzees, and the swamp deer. Tell her about the tiger. He hesitated, then wrote, "We saw a white tiger in a cage." Tell her everything. He looked at me and wrote, "Uncle Balram fainted in front of the white tiger in the cage." Better still, I'll dictate. Write it down. He wrote it all down for 10 minutes, writing so fast that his pen got black and oozy with overflowing ink. He stopped to wipe the nib against his hair, and went back to writing. In the end he read out what he had written. I called out to the people around me, and we carried Uncle to a banyan tree. Someone poured water on his face. The good people slapped Uncle hard and made him wake up. They turned to me and said, "Your uncle is raving. He's saying goodbye to his grandmother. He must think he's going to die." Uncle's eyes were open now. "Are you all right, Uncle?" I asked. He took my hand and he said, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I asked, "Sorry for what?" And he said, "I can't live the rest of my life in a cage, Granny. I'm so sorry." We took the bus back to Gurgaon and had lunch at the tea shop. It was very hot, and we sweated a lot, and that was all that happened today. Write whatever you want after that to her, and post it tomorrow, as soon as I leave in the car. But not before. Understand? It was raining all morning, a light, persistent kind of rain. I heard the rain, though I could not see it. I went to the Honda City, placed the incense stick inside, wiped the seats, wiped the stickers, and punched the ogre in the mouth. I threw a bundle near the driver's seat. I shut all the doors and locked them. Then, taking 2 steps back from the Honda City, I bowed low to it with folded palms. I went to see what Dharam was doing. He was looking lonely, so I made a paper boat for him, and we sailed it in the gutter outside the apartment block. After lunch, I called Dharam into my room. I put my hands on his shoulders. Slowly I turned him around so he faced away from me. I dropped a rupee coin on the ground. "Bend down and pick that up." He did so, and I watched. Dharam combed his hair just like Mr. Ashok did, with a part down the middle. When you stood up over him, there was a clear white line down his scalp, leading up to the spot on the crown where the strands of a man's hairline radiate from. "Stand up straight." I turned him around a full circle. I dropped the rupee again. "Pick it up one more time." I watched the spot. Telling him to sit in a corner of the room and keep watch over me, I went inside my mosquito net, folded my legs, closed my eyes, touched my palms to my knees, and breathed in. I don't know how long I sat like the Buddha, but it lasted until one of the servants shouted out that I was wanted at the front door. I opened my eyes. Dharam was sitting in a corner of the room, watching me. "Come here," I said. I gave him a hug, and put 10 rupees into his pocket. He'd need that. "Balram, you're late. The bell is ringing like crazy." I walked to the car, inserted the key, and turned the engine on. Mr. Ashok was standing at the entrance, with an umbrella and a cell phone. He was talking on the phone as he got into the car and slammed the door. "I still can't believe it. The people of this country had a chance to put an efficient ruling party back in power, and instead they have voted in the most outrageous bunch of thugs. We don't deserve—" He put the phone aside for a moment and said, "First to the city, Balram. I'll tell you where," and then resumed the phone talk. The roads were greasy with mud and water. I drove slowly. "Parliamentary democracy, father. We will never catch up with China for this single reason." First stop was in the city, at one of the usual banks. He took the red bag and went in, and I saw him inside the glass booth, pressing the buttons of the cash machine. When he came back, I could feel that the weight of the bag on the back seat had increased. We went from bank to bank, and the weight of the red bag grew. I felt its pressure increase on my lower back, as if I were taking Mr. Ashok and his bag not in a car, but the way my father would take a customer and his bag, in a rickshaw. 700,000 rupees. It was enough for a house, a motorbike, and a small shop, a new life. My 700,000 rupees. "Now to the Sheraton, Balram." "Yes, sir." I turned the key, started the car, changed gear. We moved. "Play some Sting, Balram, not too loud." "Yes, sir." I put the CD on. The voice of Sting came on. The car picked up speed. In a little while we passed the famous bronze statue of Gandhi leading his followers from darkness to the light. Now the road emptied. The rain was coming down lightly. If we kept going this way, we would come to the hotel, the grandest of all in the capital of my country, the place where visiting heads of state, like yourself, always stay. But Delhi is a city where civilization can appear and disappear within 5 minutes. On either side of us, right now, there was just wilderness and rubbish. In the rearview mirror, I saw him paying attention to nothing but his cell phone. A blue glow from the phone lit up his face. Without looking up, he asked me, "What's wrong, Balram? Why has the car stopped?" I touched the magnetic stickers of the goddess Kali for luck, then opened the glove compartment. There it was, the broken bottle with its claws of glass. "There's something off with the wheel, sir. Just give me a couple of minutes." Before I could even touch it, I swear, the door of the car opened. I was out in the drizzle. There was soggy black mud everywhere. Picking my way over mud and rainwater, I squatted near the left rear wheel, which was hidden from the road by the body of the car. There was a large clump of bushes to one side, and a stretch of wasteland beyond. "You've never seen the road this empty. You'd swear it's been arranged just for you." The only light inside the car was the blue glow from his cell phone. I rapped against his glass with a finger. He turned to me without lowering the window. I mouthed out the words, "There's a problem, sir." He did not lower the window. He did not step out. He was playing with his cell phone, punching the buttons and grinning. He must be sending a message to Ms. Uma. Pressed to the wet glass, my lips made a grin. He released the phone. I made a fist and thumped on his glass. He lowered the window with a look of displeasure. Sting's soft voice came through the window. "What is it, Balram?" "Sir, will you step out? There is a problem." "What problem?" His body just wouldn't budge. It knew, the body knew, though the mind was too stupid to figure it out. "The wheel, sir. I'll need your help. It's stuck in the mud." Just then the headlights flashed on me. A car was coming down the road. My heart skipped a beat, but it just drove right past us, splashing muddy water at my feet. He put a hand on the door and was about to step out, but some instinct of self-preservation still held him back. "It's raining, Balram. Do you think we should call for help?" He wriggled and moved away from the door. "Oh, no, sir. Trust me. Come out." He was still wriggling. His body was moving as far from me as it could. I'm losing him, I thought, and this forced me to do something I knew I would hate myself for, even years later. I really didn't want to do this. I really didn't want him to think, even in the 2 or 3 minutes he had left to live, that I was that kind of driver, the one that resorts to blackmailing his master. But he had left me no option. "It's been giving problems ever since that night we went to the hotel in Jangpura." He looked up from the cell phone at once. "The one with the big T sign on it. You remember it, don't you, sir? Ever since that night, sir, nothing has been the same with this car." His lips parted, then closed. He's thinking, blackmail? Or an innocent reference to the past? Don't give him time to settle. "Come out of the car, sir. Trust me." Putting the cell phone on the seat, he obeyed me. The blue light of the cell phone filled the inside of the dark car for a second, then went out. He opened the door farthest from me and got out near the road. I got down on my knees and hid behind the car. "Come over this side, sir. The bad tire is on this side." He came, picking his way through the mud. "It's this one, sir, and be careful. There's a broken bottle lying on the ground." There was so much garbage by the roadside that it lay there looking perfectly natural. "Here, let me throw it away. This is the tire, sir. Please take a look." He got down on his knees. I rose up over him, holding the bottle held behind my back with a bent arm. Down below me, his head was just a black ball, and in the blackness I saw a thin white line of scalp between the neatly parted hair, leading like a painted line on a highway to the spot on the crown of his skull, the spot from which a man's hair radiates out. The black ball moved, Grimacing to protect his eyes against the drizzle, he looked up at me. "It seems fine." I stood still, like a schoolboy caught out by his teacher. I thought, that landlord's brain of his has figured it out. He's going to stand up and hit me in the face. But what is the use of winning a battle when you don't even know that there is a war going on? "Well, you know more about this car than I do, Balram. Let me take another look." And he peered again at the tire. The black highway appeared before me once more, with the white paint marks leading to the crown spot. "There is a problem, sir. You should have got a replacement a long time ago." "All right, Balram." He touched the tire. "But I really think we—" I rammed the bottle down. The glass ate his bone. I rammed it 3 times into the crown of his skull, smashing through it to his brains. It's a good, strong bottle, Johnny Walker Black, well worth its resale value. The stunned body fell into the mud. A hissing sound came out of its lips, like wind escaping from a tire. I fell to the ground. My hand was trembling. The bottle slipped out, and I had to pick it up with my left hand. The thing with the hissing lips got up onto its hands and knees. It began crawling around in a circle, as if looking for someone who was meant to protect it. Why didn't I gag him and leave him in the bushes, stunned and unconscious, where he wouldn't be able to do a thing for hours while I escaped? Good question, and I've thought about it many a night as I sit at my desk, looking at the chandelier. The first possible reply is that he could always recover, break out of his gag, and call the police. So I had to kill him. The second possible reply is that his family was going to do such terrible things to my family. I was just getting my revenge in advance. I like the second reply better. Putting my foot on the back of the crawling thing, I flattened it to the ground. Down on my knees I went, to be at the right height for what would come next. I turned the body around so it would face me. I stamped my knee on its chest. I undid the collar button and rubbed my hand over its clavicles to mark out the spot. When I was a boy in Laxmangar, and I used to play with my father's body, the junction of the neck and the chest, the place where all the tendons and veins stick out in high relief, was my favorite spot. When I touched this spot, the pit of my father's neck, I controlled him. I could make him stop breathing with the pressure of a finger. The stork's son opened his eyes, just as I pierced his neck, and his lifeblood spurted into my eyes. I was blind. I was a free man. When I got the blood out of my eyes, it was all over for Mr. Ashok. The blood was draining from the neck quite fast. I believe that is the way the Muslims kill their chickens. But then tuberculosis is a worse way to go than this, I assure you. After dragging the body into the bushes, I plunged my hands and face into the rainwater and muck. I picked up the bundle near my feet, the white cotton T-shirt, the one with lots of white space and just one word in English, and changed into it. Reaching for the gilded box of tissues, I wiped my face and hands clean. I pulled out all the stickers of the goddess and threw them on Mr. Ashok's body, just in case they'd help his soul go to heaven. And then, getting into the car, turning the ignition key, putting my foot on the accelerator, I took the Honda City, finest of cars, most faithful of accomplices, on one final trip. Since there was no one else in the car, my left hand reached out to turn Sting off, then stopped and relaxed. From now on I could play the music as long as I wanted. In the railway station, 33 minutes later, the colored wheels in the fortune machines were coruscating. I stood in front of them, staring at the glowing and the whirling, and wondering, should I go back to get Dharam? If I left him there now, the police would certainly arrest him as an accomplice. They would throw him into jail with a bunch of wild men, and you know what happens to little boys when they get put into dens like that, sir. On the other hand, if I went back now all the way to Gurgaon, someone might discover the body, and then all this, I tightened my grip on the bag, would have been a waste. I squatted on the floor of the station, pressed down by indecision. There was a squealing noise to my left. A plastic bucket was tumbling about, as if it were alive. Then a grinning black face popped out of the bucket. A little creature, a baby boy, a homeless man and woman covered in filth, sat on either side of the bucket, gazing blankly into the distance. Between his fatigued parents, this little thing was having the time of his life, playing with the water and splashing it on passers-by. "Don't do it, little boy," I said. He splashed more water, squealing with pleasure each time he hit me. I raised my hand. He ducked into his bucket and kept thrashing from the inside. I reached into my pockets, searched for a rupee coin, checked to make sure it wasn't a 2-rupee coin, and rolled it toward the bucket. Then I sighed and got up, and cursed myself, and walked out of the station. Your lucky day, Dharam. The 7th night. Can you hear that, Mr. Jabao? I'll turn it up for you. The health minister today announced a plan to eliminate malaria in Bangalore by the end of the year. He has instructed all city officials to work without holiday until malaria is a thing of the past. 45 million rupees will be allocated to malaria eradication. In other news, the chief minister of the state today announced a plan to eliminate malnutrition in Bangalore in 6 months. He declared that there would be not one hungry child in the city by the end of the year. All officials are to work single-mindedly toward this goal, he declared. 500 million rupees will be allocated for malnutrition eradication. In other news, the finance minister declared that this year's budget will include special incentives to turn our villages into high-technology paradises. This is the kind of news they feed us on All India Radio night after night. And tomorrow at dawn, it'll be in the papers too. People just swallow this crap, night after night, morning after morning. Amazing, isn't it? But enough of the radio. It's turned off. Now let me look into my chandelier for inspiration. When? Old friend! Tonight we bring this glorious tale to a conclusion, as I was doing my yoga this morning. That's right, I wake up at 11 in the morning every day and go straight into an hour of yoga. I began reflecting on the progress of my story, and realized that I'm almost done. All that remains to be told is how I changed from a hunted criminal into a solid pillar of Bangalorean society. Incidentally, sir, while we're on the topic of yoga, may I just say that an hour of deep breathing, yoga and meditation in the morning constitutes the perfect start to the entrepreneur's day. How I would handle the stresses of this fucking business without yoga, I have no idea. Make yoga a must in all Chinese schools. That's my suggestion. But back to the story now. First, I want to explain one thing about a fugitive's life. Being a man on the run isn't all about fear. A fugitive is entitled to his share of fun, too. That evening, as I was sweeping up the pieces of the Johnny Walker bottle in the parking lot, I worked out a plan for how I would get to Bangalore. It wouldn't be on a direct train, no. Someone might see me, and then the police would know where I had gone. Instead, I would transfer myself from train to train, zigzagging my way down to Bangalore. Although my schedule was shot to pieces when I went to get Dharam, he was sleeping in the net, and I woke him up and said we were going on a holiday to the south, and dragged him out, and it was hard to keep my red bag in one hand and Dharam in the other hand, for the train station is a dangerous place for a little boy, you know. Lots of shady characters around. Still I began to move in this zigzag way south from Delhi. On the 3rd day of travelling like this, red bag in hand, I was at Hyderabad, waiting in line at the station tea shop to buy a cup of tea before my train left. Dharam was guarding the seat in the compartment. There was a gecko just above the tea shop, and I was looking at it with concern, hoping it would move before it was my turn to get tea. The gecko turned to the left. It ran over a large piece of paper posted on the wall. It stood still for a moment, like that, then darted to the side. That large piece of paper on the wall was a police poster. My police poster. It had already arrived here. I looked at it with a smile of pride. a smile that lasted just a second. For some bizarre reason, you'll see how sloppily things get done in India, my poster had been stapled to another poster of two guys from Kashmir, two terrorists, wanted for bombing something or the other. You'd almost think, looking at the posters, that I was a terrorist too. How annoying. I realized that I was being watched. A fellow with his hands behind his back was looking at the poster, and at me most intently. I began to tremble. I edged away from the poster, but I was too late. The moment he saw me leaving, he ran up to me, caught my wrist and stared at my face. Then he said, "What's it say? That poster you're reading?" "Read it for yourself." "Can't." Now I understood why he had come running. It was the desperation of an illiterate man to get the attention of the literate man. From his accent I knew he was from the darkness too. "It's the wanted men list for this week," I said. "Those two are terrorists from Kashmir." "What did they do?" "They blew up a school. They killed 8 children. "And this fellow? The one with the mustache?" He tapped my photo with a knuckle of his right hand. "He's the guy who caught them." "How did he do that?" To create the illusion I was reading the printing on the wall, I squinted at the 2 posters and moved my lips. "This fellow was a driver. Says here he was in his car, and these 2 terrorist guys came up to him. Then? Says he pretended he didn't know they were terrorists and took them for a ride around Delhi in his car. Then he stopped the car in a dark spot and smashed a bottle and cut their necks with it." I slashed 2 necks with my thumb. "What kind of bottle?" "An English liquor bottle. They tend to be pretty solid." "I know," he said. "I used to go to the English liquor shop for my master every Friday. He liked Smearphone." "Smirnoff," I said, but he wasn't listening. He was peering again at the photo in the poster. Suddenly he put his hand on my shoulder. "You know who this fellow in the poster looks like?" "Who?" I asked. He grinned. "Me." I looked at his face, and I looked at the photo. "It's true," I said, slapping him on the back. "I told you, it could be the face of half the men in India." And then, because I felt sorry for that poor illiterate, thinking he had just endured what my father must have endured at so many railway stations, being mocked and hoodwinked by strangers, I bought him a cup of tea before going back to the train. "Sir, I am not a politician or a parliamentarian, not one of those extraordinary men who can kill and move on as if nothing had happened. It took me 4 weeks in Bangalore to calm my nerves. For those 4 weeks, I did the same thing again and again. I left the hotel, a small seedy place near the train station that I had taken after leaving a deposit of 500 rupees every morning at 8, and walked around with a bag full of cash in my hands for 4 hours. I dared not leave it in the hotel room before returning for lunch. Dharam and I ate together. What he did to keep himself amused in the mornings I don't know, but he was in good spirits. This was the first holiday he had had in his whole life. His smiles cheered me up. Lunch was 4 rupees a plate. The food is good value in the south. It is strange food, though. Vegetables cut up and served in watery curries. Then I went up to my room and slept. At 4 o'clock I came down and ordered a pack of parlour milk biscuits and a tea, because I did not know yet how to drink the coffee. I was eager to try coffee. You see, poor people in the north of this country drink tea, and poor people in the south drink coffee. Who decided that things should be like this, I don't know, but it's like this. So this was the first time I was smelling coffee on a daily basis. I was dying to try it out, but before you could drink it, you had to know how to drink it. There was an etiquette, a routine associated with it that fascinated me. It was served in a cup set into a tumbler, and then it had to be poured in certain quantities and sipped at a certain speed from the tumbler. How the pouring was to be done, how the sipping was to be done, I did not know. For a while I only watched. It took me a week to realize that everyone was doing it differently. One man poured all the coffee into his tumbler at once, Another never used the tumbler at all. They're all strangers here, I said to myself. They're all drinking coffee for the first time. That was another of the attractions of Bangalore. The city was full of outsiders. No one would notice one more. I spent 4 weeks in that hotel near the railway station, doing nothing. I admit there were doubts in my mind. Should I have gone to Mumbai instead? But the police would have thought of that at once. Everyone goes to Mumbai in the films after they kill someone, don't they? Calcutta. I should have gone there. One morning Dharam said, "Uncle, you look so depressed. Let's go for a walk." We walked through a park where drunken men lay on benches amid wild, overgrown weeds. We came out onto a broad road. On the other side of the road stood a huge stone building with a golden lion on top of it. "What is that building, Uncle?" "I don't know, Dharam. It must be where the ministers live in Bangalore." On the gable of the building I saw a slogan, "Government work is God's work." "You're smiling, Uncle." "You're right, Dharam. I am smiling. I think we'll have a good time in Bangalore," I said, and I winked at him. I moved out of the hotel and took a flat on rent. Now I had to make a living in Bangalore. I had to find out how I could fit into this city. I tried to hear Bangalore's voice just as I had heard Delhi's. I went down MG Road and sat down at the Cafe Coffee Day, the one with the outdoor tables. I had a pen and a piece of paper with me, and I wrote down everything I overheard. I completed that computer program in 2.5 minutes. An American today offered me $400,000 for my startup, and I told him that's not enough. Is Hewlett-Packard a better company than IBM? Everything in the city, it seemed, came down to one thing: outsourcing, which meant doing things in India for Americans over the phone. Everything flowed from it: real estate, wealth, power, sex. So I would have to join this outsourcing thing one way or the other. The next day I took an auto rickshaw up to Electronic City. I found a banyan tree by the side of a road, and I sat down under it. I sat and watched the buildings until it was evening, and I saw all the SUVs racing in, and then I watched until 2 in the morning, and the SUVs began racing out of the buildings. And I thought, that's it. That's how I fit in. Let me explain, Your Excellency. See, men and women in Bangalore live like the animals in a forest do. Sleep in the day and then work all night, until 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, depending, because their masters are on the other side of the world in America. Big question. How would the boys and girls especially, get from home to the workplace in the late evening, and then get back home at 3 in the morning? There is no night bus system in Bangalore, no train system like in Mumbai. The girls would not be safe on buses or trains anyway. The men of this city, frankly speaking, are animals. That's where entrepreneurs come in. The next thing I did was to go to a Toyota Qualis dealer in the city and say, in my sweetest voice, "I want to drive your cars." The dealer looked at me, puzzled. I couldn't believe I had said that. Once a servant, always a servant. The instinct is always there, inside you, somewhere near the base of your spine. If you ever came to my office, Mr. Premier, I would probably try to press your feet at once. I pinched my left palm. I smiled as I held it pinched and said, in a deep, gruff voice, "I want to rent your cars." The last stage in my amazing success story, sir, was to go from being a social entrepreneur to a business entrepreneur. This part wasn't easy at all. I called them all up, one after the other, the officers of all the outsourcing companies in Bangalore. Did they need a taxi service to pick up their employees in the evening? Did they need a taxi service to drop off their employees late at night? And you know what they all said, of course. One woman was kind enough to explain. "You're too late. Every business in Bangalore already has a taxi service to pick up and drop off their employees at night. I'm sorry to tell you this." It was just like starting out in Dhanbad. I got depressed. I lay in bed a whole day. What would Mr. Ashok do? I wondered. Then it hit me. I wasn't alone. I had someone on my side. I had thousands on my side. You'll see, my friends, when you visit Bangalore, fat, paunchy men swinging their canes on Brigade Road, poking and harassing vendors and shaking them down for money. I'm talking of the police, of course. The next day I paid a local to be a translator. You know, I'm sure, that the people of the north and the south in my country speak different languages, and went to the nearest police station. In my hand I had the red bag. I acted like an important man, and made sure the policemen saw the red bag by swinging it a lot, and gave them a business card I had just had printed. Then I insisted on seeing the big man there, the inspector. At last they let me into his office. The red bag had done the trick. The big man sat at a huge desk with shiny badges on his khaki uniform and the red marks of religion on his forehead. Behind him were 3 portraits of gods, but not the one I was looking for. Oh, thank God, there was one of Gandhi too. It was in the corner. With a big smile and a namaste, I handed him the red bag. He opened it cautiously. I said via the translator, "Sir, I want to make a small offering of my gratitude to you." It's amazing. The moment you show cash, everyone knows your language. Gratitude for what? The inspector asked in Hindi, peering into the bag with one eye closed. For all the good you are doing to me, sir. He counted the money, 10,000 rupees, heard what I wanted, and asked for double. I gave him a bit more and was happy. I tell you, Mr. Premier, my poster was right there, the one that I had seen earlier, the whole time I was negotiating with him, the wanted poster, with the dirty little photo of me. 2 days later, I called up the nice woman at the internet company who had turned me down, and heard a shocking tale. Her taxi service had been disrupted. A police raid had discovered that most of the drivers did not have licenses. "I'm so sorry, madam," I said. "I offer you my sympathies. In addition, I offer you my company, White Tiger Drivers. Do all your drivers have licenses?" "Of course, madam. You can call the police and check." She did just that and called me back. I think the police must have put in a good word for me, and that was how I got my own, as they say in English, start-up. I was one of the drivers in the early days, but then I gave up. I don't really think I ever enjoyed driving, you know. Talking is much more fun. Now the start-up has grown into a big business. We've got 16 drivers who work in shifts with 26 vehicles. Yes, it's true. A few 100,000 rupees of someone else's money and a lot of hard work can make magic happen in this country. Put together my real estate and my bank holdings, and I am worth 15 times the sum I borrowed from Mr. Ashok. See for yourself at my website. See my motto, "We drive technology forward," in English. See the photos of my fleet, 26 shining new Toyota Qualises, all fully air-conditioned for the summer months, all contracted out to famous technology companies. If you like my SUVs, if you want your call center boys and girls driven home in style, just click where it says, "Contact Ashok Sharma now." Yes, Ashok, that's what I call myself these days. Ashok Sharma, North Indian entrepreneur settled in Bangalore. If you were sitting here with me, under this big chandelier, I would show you all the secrets of my business. You could stare at the screen of my silver Macintosh laptop and see photos of my SUVs, my drivers, my garages, my mechanics, my paid-off policemen. All of them belong to me, Munna, whose destiny was to be a sweet maker. You'll see photos of my boys, too, all 16 of them. Once I was a driver to a master, but now I am a master of drivers. I don't treat them like servants. I don't slap or bully or mock anyone. I don't insult any of them by calling them my family, either. They're my employees. I'm their boss. That's all. I make them sign a contract, and I sign it too, and both of us must honor that contract. That's all. If they notice the way I talk, the way I dress, the way I keep things clean, they'll go up in life. If they don't, they'll be drivers all their lives. I leave the choice up to them. When the work is done, I kick them out of the office. No chit-chat, no cups of coffee. A white tiger keeps no friends. It's too dangerous. Now, despite my amazing success story, I don't want to lose contact with the places where I got my real education in life. The road and the pavement. I walk about Bangalore in the evenings or in the early mornings just to listen to the road. One evening, when I was near the train station, I saw a dozen or so manual labourers gathered together in front of a wall and talking in low tones. They were speaking in a strange language. They were the locals of the place. I didn't have to understand their words to know what they were saying. In a city where so many had streamed in from outside, they were the ones left behind. They were reading something on that wall. I wanted to see what it was, but they stopped their talking and crowded in front of the wall. I had to threaten to call the police before they parted and let me see what they had been reading. It was a stenciled image of a pair of hands smashing its manacles. The great socialist is coming to Bangalore. In a couple of weeks he arrived. He had a big rally here and gave a terrific speech, all about fire and blood and purging this country of the rich because there was going to be no fresh water for the poor in 10 years because the world was getting hotter. I stood at the back and listened. At the end, people clapped like crazy. There is a lot of anger in this town, that's for sure. Keep your ears open in Bangalore, in any city or town in India, and you will hear stirrings, rumors, threats of insurrection. Men sit under lampposts at night and read. Men huddle together and discuss and point fingers to the heavens. One night, will they all join together? Will they destroy the rooster coop? Ha! Maybe once in 100 years there is a revolution that frees the poor. I read this in one of those old textbook pages people in tea stalls used to wrap greasy samosas with. See, only 4 men in history have led successful revolutions to free the slaves and kill their masters, this page said. Alexander the Great, Abraham Lincoln of America, Mao of your country, and a 4th man. It may have been Hitler, I can't remember. But I don't think a 5th name is getting added to the list any time soon. An Indian revolution? No, sir, it won't happen. People in this country are still waiting for the war of their freedom to come from somewhere else, from the jungles, from the mountains, from China, from Pakistan. That will never happen. Every man must make his own Benares. The book of your revolution sits in the pit of your belly, young Indian. Crap it out and read. Instead of which they're all sitting in front of color TVs and watching cricket and shampoo advertisements. On the topic of shampoo advertisements, Mr. Premier, I must say that golden-colored hair sickens me now. I don't think it's healthy for a woman to have that color of hair. I don't trust the TV or the big outdoor posters of white women that you see all over Bangalore. I go from my own experience now, from the time I spend in 5-star hotels. That's right, Mr. Jabao. I don't go to red light districts anymore. It's not right to buy and sell women who live in bird cages and get treated like animals. I only buy girls I find in 5-star hotels. Based on my experience, Indian girls are the best. Well, second best. I tell you, Mr. Jabao, it's one of the most thrilling sights you can have as a man in Bangalore to see the eyes of a pair of Nepali girls flashing out at you from the dark hood of an auto rickshaw. In fact, the sight of these golden-haired foreigners, and you'll discover that Bangalore is full of them these days, has only convinced me that the white people are on the way out. All of them look so emaciated, so puny. You'll never see one of them with a decent belly. For this I blame the President of America. He has made buggery perfectly legal in his country, and men are marrying other men instead of women. This was on the radio. This is leading to the decline of the white man. Then white people use cell phones too much, and that is destroying their brains. It's a known fact. Cell phones cause cancer in the brain and shrink your masculinity. The Japanese invented them to diminish the white man's brain and balls at the same time. I overheard this at the bus stand one night. Until then I had been very proud of my Nokia, showing it to all the call center girls I was hoping to dip my beak into. But I threw it away at once. Every call that you make to me, you have to make it on a landline. It hurts my business, but my brain is too important, sir. It's all that a thinking man has in this world. White men will be finished within my lifetime. There are blacks and reds too, but I have no idea what they're up to. The radio never talks about them. My humble prediction, in 20 years' time, it will be just us yellow men and brown men at the top of the pyramid, and we'll rule the whole world. And God save everyone else. Now I should explain about that long interruption in my narrative 2 nights ago. It will also allow me to illustrate the differences between Bangalore and Laxmangar. Understand, Mr. Jabao, it is not as if you come to Bangalore and find that everyone is moral and upright here. This city has its share of thugs and politicians. It's just that here, if a man wants to be good, he can be good. In Laxmangar, he doesn't even have this choice. That is the difference between this India and that India. The choice. See, that night, I was sitting here telling you my life story when my landline began to ring. Still chatting to you, I picked up the receiver and heard Muhammad Asif's voice. Sir, there's been some trouble. That's when I stopped talking to you. What kind of trouble? I asked. I knew Muhammad Asif had been on duty that night, so I braced myself for the worst. There was a silence, and then he said, I was taking the girls home when we hit a boy on a bicycle. He's dead, sir. Call the police at once, I said. But, sir, I am at fault. I hit him, sir. That's exactly why you will call the police. The police were there when I got to the scene with an empty van. The Qualis was parked by the side of the road. The girls were all still inside. There was a body, a boy, lying on the ground bloodied. The bike was on the ground, smashed and twisted. Muhammad Asif was standing off to the side, shaking his head. Someone was yelling at him, yelling with the passion that you only see on the face of the relative of a dead man. The policeman on the scene had stalled everyone. He nodded when he saw me. We knew each other very well by now. That's the dead boy's brother, sir, he whispered to me. He's in a total rage. I haven't been able to get him out of here. I shook Muhammad Asif out of his trance. Take my car and get these women home, first of all. Let my boy go, I told the policeman loudly. He's got to get the people in their home. Whatever you want to deal with, you deal with me. How can you let him go? The brother of the dead boy yelled at the policeman. Look here, son, I said. I am the owner of this vehicle. Your fight is with me, not with this driver. He was following my orders to drive as fast as he could. The blood is on my hands, not his. These girls need to go home. Come with me to the police station. I offer myself as your ransom. Let them go. The policeman played along with me. It's a good idea, son. We need to register the case at the station. While I kept the brother engaged by pleading to his reason and human decency, Muhammad Asif and all the girls got into my van and slipped away. That was the first objective, to get the girls home. I have signed a contract with their company, and I honor all that I sign. I went to the police station with the dead boy's brother. The policeman on night duty brought me coffee. They did not bring the boy coffee. He glared at me as I took the cup. He looked ready to tear me to pieces. I sipped. The assistant commissioner will be here in 5 minutes, one of the policemen said. Is he the one who's going to register the case? The brother asked. Because no one has done it so far. I sipped some more. The assistant commissioner who sat in the station was a man whom I had lubricated often. He had fixed a rival for me once. He was the worst kind of man, who had nothing in his mind but taking money from everyone who came to his office. Scum. But he was my scum. My heart lifted at the sight of him. He had come all the way to the station at night to help me out. There is honesty among thieves, as they say. He understood the situation immediately. Ignoring me, he went up to the brother and said, "What is it you want?" "I want to file an FIR, the brother said. "I want this crime recorded." "What crime?" "The death of my brother by this man's," pointing a finger at me, "vehicle." The assistant commissioner looked at his watch. "My God, it's late. It's almost 5 o'clock. Why don't you go home now? We'll forget you were here. We'll let you go home." "What about this man? Will you lock him up first?" The assistant commissioner put his fingers together. He sighed. "See, at the time of the accident, your brother's bicycle had no working lights. That is illegal, you know. There are other things that will come out. I promise you, things will come out." The boy stared. He shook his head, as if he hadn't heard correctly. "My brother is dead. This man is a killer. I don't understand what's going on here." "Look here. Go home, have a bath, pray to God, sleep. Come back in the morning. We'll file the FIR then. All right?" The brother understood at last why I had brought him to the station. He understood at last that the trap had shut on him. Maybe he had only seen policemen in Hindi movies until now. Poor boy. "This is an outrage. I'll call the papers. I'll call the lawyers. I'll call the police." The assistant commissioner, who was not a man given to humor, allowed himself a little smile. "Sure, call the police." The brother stormed out, shouting more threats. "The number plates will be changed tomorrow," the assistant commissioner said. "We'll say it was a hit and run. Another car will be substituted. We keep battered cars for this purpose here. You're very lucky that your Qualis hit a man on a bicycle." I nodded. A man on a bicycle getting killed. The police don't even have to register the case. A man on a motorbike getting killed. They would have to register that. A man in a car getting killed. That would have thrown me in jail. What if he goes to the papers? The assistant commissioner slapped his belly. "I've got every pressman in this town in here." I did not hand him an envelope at once. There is a time and a place for these things. Now was the time to smile and say thanks and sip the hot coffee he had offered me. Now was the time to chat with him about his sons. They're both studying in America. He wants them to come back and start an internet company in Bangalore, and nod and smile and show him my clean, shining, fluoridated teeth. We sipped cup after cup of steaming coffee under a calendar that had the face of the goddess Lakshmi on it. She was showering gold coins from a pot into the river of prosperity. Above her was a framed portrait of the god of gods, a grinning Mahatma Gandhi. A week from now I'll go to see him again with an envelope, and then he won't be so nice. He'll count the money in front of me and say, "This is all. Do you know how much it costs to keep 2 sons studying in a foreign college? You should see the American Express bills they send me every month." And he'll ask for another envelope, then another, and so on. There is no end to things in India, Mr. Jabao, as Mr. Ashok so correctly used to say. You'll have to keep paying and paying the fuckers. But I complain about the police the way the rich complain, not the way the poor complain. The difference is everything. The next day, sir, I called Mohammed Asif to the office. He was burning with shame over what he had done. I didn't need to reproach him. And it was not his fault. Not mine either. Our outsourcing companies are so cheap that they force their taxi operators to promise them an impossible number of runs every night. To meet such schedules, we have to drive recklessly. We have to keep hitting and hurting people on the roads. It's a problem every taxi operator in this city faces. Don't blame me. "Don't worry about it, Asif," I said. The boy looked so devastated. "I've come to respect Muslims, sir. They're not the brightest lot, except for those 4 poet fellows, but they make good drivers, and they're honest people by and large, although a few of them seem to get this urge to blow trains up every year. I wasn't going to fire Asif over this. But I did ask him to find out the address of the boy, the one we had killed. He stared at me. "Why go, sir? We don't have to fear anything from the parents. please don't do this." I made him find the address, and I made him give it to me. I took cash out of my locker, in crisp new 100-rupee notes. I put them in a brown envelope. I got into a car and drove myself to the place. The mother was the one who opened the door. She asked me what I wanted, and I said, "I am the owner of the taxi company." I didn't have to tell her which one. She brought me a cup of coffee in a cup, set in a metal tumbler. They have exquisite manners, these South Indians. I poured the coffee into the tumbler and sipped the correct way. There was a photo of a young man, with a large jasmine garland around it, up on the wall. I said nothing until I finished the coffee. Then I put the brown envelope on the table. An old man had come into the room now, and he stood staring at me. "First of all, I want to express my deep sorrow at the death of your son. Having lost relatives myself, so many of them, I know the pain that you have suffered. He should not have died. Second, the fault is mine, not the driver's. The police have let me off. That is the way of this jungle we live in. But I accept my responsibility. I ask you for forgiveness." I pointed to the brown envelope lying on the table. "There are 25,000 rupees in here. I don't give it to you because I have to, but because I want to. Do you understand?" The old woman would not take the money. But the old man, the father, was eyeing the envelope. "At least you were man enough to come," he said. "I want to help your other son," I said. "He is a brave boy. He stood up to the police the other night. He can come and be a driver with me if you want. I would take care of him if you want." The woman clenched her face and shook her head. Tears poured out of her eyes. It was understandable. She might have had the hopes for that boy that my mother had for me, but the father was amenable. Men are more reasonable in such matters. I thanked him for the coffee, bowed respectfully before the bereaved mother, and left. Muhammad Asif was waiting for me at the office when I got back. He shook his head and said, "Why? Why did you waste so much money?" That's when I thought, maybe I've made a mistake. Maybe Asif will tell the other drivers I was frightened of the old woman, and they will think they can cheat me. It makes me nervous. I don't like showing weakness in front of my employees. I know what that leads to. But I had to do something different. Don't you see? I can't live the way the wild boar and the buffalo and the raven lived, and probably still live, back in Laxmangar. I am in the light now. Now, what happens in your typical murder weekly story, or Hindi film for that matter? A poor man kills a rich man. Good. Then he takes the money. Good. But then he gets dreams in which the dead man pursues him with bloody fingers saying, "Murderer! Murderer!" Doesn't happen like that in real life. Trust me, it's one of the reasons I've stopped going to Hindi films. There was just that one night when Granny came chasing me on a water buffalo, but it never happened again. The real nightmare you get is the other kind. You toss about in the bed dreaming that you haven't done it, that you lost your nerve and let Mr. Ashok get away, that you're still in Delhi, still the servant of another man, and then you wake up. The sweating stops. The heartbeat slows. You did it. You killed him. About 3 months after I came to Bangalore, I went to a temple and performed last rites there for all of them. Kusum, Kishan, and all my aunts, cousins, nephews, and nieces. I even said a prayer for the water buffalo. Who knows who has lived and who has not? And then I said to Kishan, and to Kusum, and to all of them, "Now leave me in peace." And they have, sir, by and large. One day I read a story in a newspaper, family of 17 murdered in North Indian village. My heart began to thump. 17. That can't be right. That's not mine. It was just one of those 2-inch horror stories that appear every morning in the papers. They didn't give a name to the village. They just said it was somewhere in the darkness, near Gaya. I read it again and again. 17. There aren't 17 at home. I breathed out. But what if someone's had children? I crumpled that paper and threw it away. I stopped reading the newspaper for a few months after that, just to be safe. Look, here's what would have happened to them. Either the stork had killed them, or had some of them killed, and the others beaten. Now, even if by some miracle he or the police didn't do that, the neighbors would have shunned them. See, a bad boy in one family cast the village's reputation into the dust. So the villagers would have forced them out, and they'd have to go to Delhi, or Calcutta, or Mumbai, to live under some concrete bridge begging for their food, and without hope for the future. That's not much better than being dead. What's that you say, Mr. Jabal? Do I hear you call me a cold-blooded monster? There is a story I think I heard at a train station, sir, or maybe I read it on the torn page that had been used to wrap an ear of roasted corn I bought at the market. I can't remember. It was a story of the Buddha. One day, a cunning Brahmin, trying to trick the Buddha, asked him, "Master, do you consider yourself a man or a god?" The Buddha smiled and said, "Neither. I am just one who has woken up, while the rest of you are still sleeping." I'll give you the same answer to your question, Mr. Jabal. You ask, are you a man or a demon? Neither, I say. I have woken up, and the rest of you are still sleeping, and that is the only difference between us. I shouldn't think of them at all, my family. Dharam certainly doesn't. He's figured out what's happened by now. I told him at first we were going on a holiday, and I think he bought it for a month or two. He doesn't say a word, but sometimes I see him watching me out of the corner of his eye. He knows. At night, we eat together, sitting across the table, watching each other and not saying much. After he's done eating, I give him a glass of milk. 2 nights ago, after he finished his milk, I asked him, "Don't you ever think of your mother?" Not a word. "Your father?" He smiled at me, and then he said, "Give me another glass of milk, won't you, uncle?" I got up. He added, "And a bowl of ice cream, too." "Ice cream is for Sundays, Dharam," I said. "No, it's for today." And he smiled at me. Oh, he's got it all figured out, I tell you. Little blackmailing thug. He's going to keep quiet as long as I keep feeding him. If I go to jail, he loses his ice cream and glasses of milk, doesn't he? That must be his thinking. The new generation, I tell you, is growing up with no morals at all. He goes to a good school here in Bangalore, an English school. Now he pronounces English like a rich man's son. He can say pizza the way Mr. Ashok said it. And doesn't he love eating pizza, that nasty stuff? I watch with pride as he does his long division on a clean white paper at the dinner table. All these things I never learned. One day I know Dharam, the boy who is drinking my milk and eating my ice cream in big bowls, will ask me, "Couldn't you have spared my mother? Couldn't you have written to her telling her to escape in time?" And then I'll have to come up with an answer. Or kill him, I suppose, but that question is still a few years away. Till then we'll have dinner together every evening. Dharam, last of my family, and me. That leaves only one person to talk about. My ex. I thought there was no need to offer a prayer to the gods for him, because his family would be offering very expensive prayers all along the Ganga for his soul. What can a poor man's prayers mean to the 36,000,004 gods in comparison with those of the rich? But I do think about him a lot, and believe it or not, I do miss him. He didn't deserve his fate. I should have cut the mongoose's neck. Now, Your Excellency, a great leap forward in Sino-Indian relations has been taken in the past 7 nights. Hindi chini bye-bye, as they say. I have told you all you need to know about entrepreneurship, how it is fostered, how it overcomes hardships, how it remains steadfast to its true goals, and how it is rewarded with the gold medal of success. Sir, although my story is done, and my secrets are now your secrets, if you allow me, I would leave you with one final word. That's an old trick I learned from the great socialist. Just when his audience is yawning, he says one final word, and then he goes on for 2 more hours. Ha! When I drive down Hosur Main Road, when I turn into Electronics City Phase 1 and see the companies go past, I can't tell you how exciting it is to me. General Electric, Dell, Siemens, they're all here in Bangalore, and so many more are on their way. There is construction everywhere, piles of mud everywhere, piles of stones, piles of bricks. The entire city is masked in smoke, smog, powder, cement dust. It is under a veil. When the veil is lifted, what will Bangalore look like? Maybe it will be a disaster. Slums, sewage, but you never know. It may turn out to be a decent city, where humans can live like humans, and animals can live like animals. A new Bangalore for a new India, and then I can say that in my own way, I helped to make New Bangalore. Why not? Am I not a part of all that is changing this country? Haven't I succeeded in the struggle that every poor man here should be making? The struggle not to take the lashes your father took, not to end up in a mound of indistinguishable bodies that will rot in the black mud of Mother Ganja. True, there was the matter of murder, which is a wrong thing to do, no question about it. It has darkened my soul. All the skin-whitening creams sold in the markets of India won't clean my hands again. But isn't it likely that everyone who counts in this world, including our Prime Minister, including you, Mr. Jabao, has killed someone or other on their way to the top? Kill enough people, and they will put up bronze statues to you near Parliament House in Delhi. But that is glory, and not what I am after. All I wanted was the chance to be a man, and for that, one murder was enough. What comes next for me? I know that's what you're wondering. Let me put it this way. This afternoon, driving down MG Road, which is our posh shopping road with lots of American shops and technology companies, I saw the Yahoo people putting up a new sign outside their office. How big can you think? I took my hands off the wheel and held them wider than an elephant's cock. That big, sister fucker! I love my startup. This chandelier, and this silver laptop, and these 26 Toyota Qualises. But honestly, I'll get bored of it sooner or later. I'm a first-gear man, Mr. Premier. In the end, I'll have to sell this startup to some other moron, entrepreneur, and head into a new line. I'm thinking of real estate next. You see, I'm always a man who sees tomorrow when others see today. The whole world will come to Bangalore tomorrow. Just drive to the airport and count the half-built glass and steel boxes as you pass them. Look at the names of the American companies that are building them. And when all these Americans come here, where do you think they're all going to sleep? On the road? Ha! Anywhere there's an empty apartment, I take a look at it. I wonder, how much can I get from an American for this in 2010? If the place has a future as the home of an American, I put a down payment on it at once. The future of real estate is Bangalore, Mr. Jabao. You can join in the killing if you want. I'll help you out. After 3 or 4 years in real estate, I think I might sell everything, take the money, and start a school, an English language school, for poor children in Bangalore. A school where you won't be allowed to corrupt anyone's head with prayer and stories about God or Gandhi, nothing but the facts of life for these kids. A school full of white tigers, unleashed on Bangalore. We'd have this city at our knees, I tell you. I could become the boss of Bangalore. I'd fix that assistant commissioner of police at once. I'd put him on a bicycle and have Asif knock him over with the Qualis. All this dreaming I'm doing, it may well turn out to be nothing. See, sometimes I think I will never get caught. I think the rooster coop needs people like me to break out of it. It needs masters like Mr. Ashok, who for all his numerous virtues was not much of a master, to be weeded out, and exceptional servants like me to replace them. At such times, I gloat that Mr. Ashok's family can put up a reward of $1 million on my head, and it will not matter. I have switched sides. I am now one of those who cannot be caught in India. At such moments, I look up at this chandelier and I just want to throw my hands up and holler so loudly that my voice would carry over the phones in the call center rooms all the way to the people in America. I've made it. I've broken out of the coop. But at other times, someone in the street calls out, "Balram," and I turn my head and think, I've given myself away. Getting caught, it's always a possibility. There's no end to things in India, as Mr. Ashok used to say. You can give the police all the brown envelopes and red bags you want, and they might still screw you. A man in a uniform may one day point a finger at me and say, "Time's up, Munna." Yet, even if all my chandeliers come crashing down to the floor, even if they throw me in jail and have all the other prisoners dip their beaks into me, even if they make me walk the wooden stairs to the hangman's noose, I'll never say I made a mistake that night in Delhi when I slit my master's throat. I'll say it was all worthwhile to know, just for a day, just for an hour, just for a minute, what it means not to be a servant. I think I am ready to have children, Mr. Premier. Ha! Yours forever, Ashok Sharma, the White Tiger of Bangalore. Boss at whitetiger-technologydrivers.com